Do you have any plans today? I hope you do. I hope it's to stay with us. Welcome along to Anglesey, the Brscc Summer Race Day. It doesn't look like summer at the moment. We have had a little bit of sunshine, which is why I'm here in my T-shirt. We've got some terrific racing, headlined by 2 3-hour races for these guys. Fun Cup. It's going to be absolutely... All their races are brilliant. The championship bubbles away, a little bit of controversy, which you'll hear about a little bit later on. And more importantly, we're racing into the night. We've got a 3-hour race during the afternoon, and we've got another 3-hour race later on going up to 10 o'clock this evening. So forget about the rubbish Saturday night TV, stick with us on the Fun Cup channel with the Brscc and enjoy all the racing that we've got for you. As well as Fun Cup over the weekend, we've got the aspiring youngsters in the Fiesta Junior Championship coming up. A huge grid, 30 odd cars have made the journey out here to Anglesey to race for their third event of the season. Some of them might want to go into the seniors, so we've got the AIRTEC Senior ST240 Championship on board as well. We've got Caterhams, you can probably see them in the background as well. New to Brscc this year, both versions of the Caterham Graduates Club, and we'll hear more about them from our commentary team a little bit later on. And then finally, to wrap things up tomorrow, we've got the Brscc Supersport Endurance Race, 2 hours of mixed class racing to look forward to as well. To paint more of the picture for you and to give you a lot more detail, your commentators for today, John Ratcliffe and Andy McEwen.
Thank you very much, Richard. Yeah, great to be here. This is always a highlight of my season, making the annual trip to North Wales. Not too far from me, actually, living over on the Wirral, but it's a brilliant place to come and spend a weekend. And this Fun Cup double header is always a highlight of the season. Year after year, this place produces some of the best racing on the Fun Cup Endurance Championship season, and I'm sure it will do so again later on today. John Ratcliffe alongside me, as Richard quite rightly says. Yeah, it's going to be a good one, this, isn't it? Anglesey, it's a little bit of a longer trek for you, I suspect, to make it up here, but well worth it.
Indeed, very much so. Yeah, I'm based sort of around Silverstone, and I know there's more racing going on down there this weekend, but I've made the long trip up to Anglesey, and like you say, it's very well worth it. Beautiful views from the commentary box here, not only of the landscape around us, but also of the racing action out there on the black stuff as well. Fun Cup always going very well around here, and of course I've been lucky enough to race in the Fun Cup here. It's mightily exciting, but also the race coverage from here in the box, very exciting as well. Of course, we look forward to that post-lunch break, but for now, we kick off with those Caterhams.
Yes, which provide, in a way, a similar kind of racing to Fun Cup, just contained within a 20-minute period. Caterham racing, very slipstream heavy. It's not always the easiest of places to overtake this, but if you bring a category of cars that slipstream well together, that pretty much stops being an issue, and Caterham racing, as I'm sure many of you will know, is always very close. There's always lots of overtaking, and usually it all comes down to a last lap scramble for the finish line, and I'm sure that this first race of the day will be the same. It's the Sigma 150s making their third event of the season. They've raced at Snetterton and at Silverstone earlier in the year, and now they make the trip to Anglesey. It's almost time then to get our first race of the weekend underway. The Caterham Graduates Championship then arrives at Anglesey, a 20-minute race to kick off our action today before we head into the lunch break. But don't worry, we've got plenty of content to fill that lunch break. We'll be hearing from a lot of our Fun Cup teams and drivers ahead of their first 3-hour race of the day. As I was saying earlier, it's the third event of the season for the Caterhams. They raced at Snetterton and Silverstone earlier in the year. It's Max Haynes who's got the early championship lead after a really solid start to the season. And Ian Howes, who is second place in the points, but the grid, an interesting one. It's William Bryant who's got the pole position for this first race in the number... That's not, sorry, it's William Van Ness who's got the pole position in the number 35. William Bryant lining up alongside him. And yeah, this could be an interesting race. Qualifying times, John, were reasonably tight, as you'd expect. Only a tenth of a second or so covering the top 2 or 3 cars. So expect more of the same in the race. Yeah,
classic Caterhams, that, isn't it? They always produce exciting racing. And like you say, around a circuit such as this, these cars working very well. The sort of quip that I used back at Snetterton when I was lucky enough to commentate over these guys was they're sort of shaped like a bullet, but you've cut the front end off. So they're not particularly great at pushing through the air, but when one sits behind another and then another and then another, that slipstream's super strong, and you might see some moves up into rocket. But like we say, only a 20-minute sprint race to get this one started off this weekend, so not a lot of time to be making moves, but if there's anything we know from Caterham Racing, there are sure to be quite a few of them. So I'm very much looking forward to this first race of the weekend.
Absolutely so. Cars making their way around on the green flag lap then, just trying to get some heat into the tyres. The Caterham's running on the long circuit, if you like, the Anglesey GP circuit. The Fun Cup cars will be racing on the shorter Anglesey coastal circuit, so nothing really changes until you get to this last sector up through the top end of the circuit, through Rocket into Peel. This is all the same regardless of which version of the track we are on, but then they head down into the corkscrew. That bit of track right in front of the camera will be used for the Fun Cup races, but for everything else they hang a sharp left, head down the long back straight on part of the old Anglesey circuit actually, before it was I was going to say reprofiled, essentially completely rebuilt, getting on for 20 years ago now, and down into what is, John, one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit.
It is indeed, yeah, as you say, the Fun Cup's not treated to this section of corners, but every other classification racing this weekend using this long straight down into the chicane, and as we say, that slipstream able to be used as well all the way down there to the chicane. And you might end up seeing a few drivers ended up 3 wide down there on the first lap. We'll have to wait and see. Lots of Caterhams taking to the grid for this one, and we'll see how they get started in a few moments' time. Of course, coming round ready for the standing start, we'll have to wait and see who gets the jump as well, because very different to a lot of other circuits, that first corner, not really an overtaking opportunity, isn't it? You're carrying the speed all the way down to turn 2, and that banked turn 2 can often mean differing lines can work as well as each other, and that opens up opportunities no matter whether you go to the inside or the outside, and then you've got that long run all the way up to Rocket.
Yeah, it's a very short run into turn 1 as well. In fact, the start-finish straight is probably the shortest straight on the track, which again is, it sort of defies all of the racing norms, doesn't it? So it's a short run into turn 1. It's probably more or less flat out from a standing start through that first corner, and so that adds an extra little dynamic. Sometimes the outside line is actually the better place to be, and so for William Bryant, who starts on the outside line for Alpha 7, he might well be able to use that to his advantage. It's a 2x2 grid as well, so the front row starters absolutely nose to nose as the green flag is waved at the back of the grid. 20 minutes of JMRG Caterham Graduates Championship Sigma 150 racing about to kick off our Anglesey weekend. Lights go out, off towards the first corner they head, and it is going to be a decent start from the second row of the grid for Stephen Clark from third on the grid. Stephen Clark in the number 3 car is challenging for the race lead out towards the banking, and I think has gone through. I think that is the CTS Motorsport car that's grabbed the early advantage. We'll double check that as they exit the hairpin. Yes, it is the blue and red number 3 that gets the best of the start. So here I was saying the outside of row 1 was the place to be. It turned out it was the inside of the second row. However, that could be a short-lived lead, because now they head out onto the back straight, and already the slipstream starts to take effect. William Van Ness closing in on the race leader, John, as we head towards Rocket.
Indeed, they fly up using that slipstream for the first time in this race. Will there be an opportunity for Van Ness to look up the inside? He's not quite close enough this time. We'll have to rethink that one. Despite having that novice cross on the back, Van Ness starting very nicely in this one. He's a very experienced driver, like I say, despite having that novice cross on the back. He's lost the lead initially off of this race start, but like you say, what a start it was from Clark. He had that practice start as we went onto the green flag lap, and that practice start was fantastic. He replicated that on the real thing, and up into the lead he went.
Well spotted. So yeah, he'd practiced that. There's one car slow at the back of the field, I can tell you. That's Barry White, who is in a bit of trouble. So that car, I fear, is destined for the pit lane. The rest of the pack, though, making their way down onto the Grand Prix loop, and there they are through the hairpin. A little bit of a lead being built up maybe by Stephen Clark at this stage, and that is crucial. We've been talking the talk about this slipstream, but if you do get so far ahead of the rest of the field, that doesn't really take a huge amount of effect. Let's see what the gap is then as they come through towards the completion of the opening lap of racing, and the gap is a decent one, isn't it? That is almost a second, I think. Helpfully, Stephen Clark's transponder isn't working, so he's not being shown as the race leader, but I assure you he is, and I'd say to the eye, John, that's getting on for a second.
I think it is. It's continuing to increase, isn't it? So it's not just a case of a very exciting start and then having to put on the anchors and show us his defensive prowess as well. He's already looking to motor on as the drivers use a lot of the curbs, some of them even using a bit of grass there through the fast right-hander. And it's all a case of carrying as much speed as you can through that corner and using that slipstream up the back straight. A couple of drivers pulling out from said toe up the hill as you sort of pull to the outside, that then becomes the inside line up to the top of the crest, and there are moves going on ahead. Then a little look up the inside for third place. A couple of the drivers switching around as there's already a bit of debris offline as well. There's clearly been a bit of contact on that first lap.
That is the left rear wing from Alan Arts' car, I noticed. In fact, he might be missing both rear wings. I've just seen the right-hand side of the car, and that looked a little bit naked as well. So I think he's had a drama or two on that opening lap. There are a couple of stragglers, I noticed, who I fear have tangled on the opening lap of the race. There was a change for third there. That was Brendan Maud in the PT Sports car moving up into third. The number 55 car, the white, black and blue machine, moving up into third position. And so the car that's sort of slipping down slightly is William Van Ness, the pole sitter, who I reckon is down in fourth position now. There's another wing in the road. Not sure where that was, coming out of Peel Corner possibly. So it wouldn't be a Caterham race, I suppose, without a few wings being shed. That's not to say the driving standards aren't good, but it's just a testament to how close the racing is.
Exactly. I think if you come off of a Caterham race with all four wings intact, you've not been racing hard enough, have you? And a couple of drivers setting a few of them, as you say. So let's see how many of them make it through to the end of the race. Well, we continue on then onto a new lap of proceedings, and yeah, that battle for third is the one really starting to kick off, isn't it? Our top two breaking away, and that gap between the top two staying at just under a second at the moment. On the last lap, Clark and Van Ness setting nearly identical times. 1 minute 40.412 for Clark versus a 0.473 for Van Ness. So nearly inseparable between those two. As looking further back, we're almost 3 wide up the hill for third place. We continue to squabble, and drivers switching all around as we head into the braking zone. One looking cheeky up the inside, almost a bit of contact. They just about give each other enough room, and for now, they keep those wings intact.
Yes, so that lead gap then is now registering at 9/10 of a second, or at least it was at the start of the lap for Stephen Clark. So just under a second. Not sure exactly how close you need to be to pick up a slipstream. It's not an exact science, but I reckon that's on the verges of breaking the toe for the CTS Motorsport driver. But so difficult to do, isn't it? Especially now that the second placed driver, William Van Ness, has sort of distanced himself from the rest of the chasing pack. He might well be able to go after him as the battle rages on here for third position. Brendan Maud, having taken that third place, now desperately defending it from William Bryant, who was really on the attack there heading into the final hairpin. Lead gap is definitely down, isn't it? Look at this as they come through the final corner. It's not 9/10 of a second anymore. And so Stephen Clark about to come under some threat. Yes, new fastest lap set by the pole sitter, a 1 minute 40.0. That's almost good enough actually to have beaten his own pole position time, and he's almost halved the gap now to the leader.
That's what he needed to do, didn't he? He needed to find that little bit more pace, and he's done it on that previous lap. Like you say, almost halves the gap, and we'll see, can he do it again on this lap? If so, we might just have a squabble for the lead on our hands. So we keep our eyes firmly fixed just behind them at the moment. So this is 4th and 5th place then, as we head through that very tricky and fast right-hander. Up the back straight we go once again, but still, those top two, despite them now closing up to each other, both of them continuing to scamper off with from the rest of the pack. So will we see, of course, this race not hugely long, but if Van Ness catches up to Clark over the next lap or two, might we see some pressing on together to try and further extend that gap, or will they just go straight forward? Let's wait and see. It is Caterham racing at the end of the day.
Well, yes, but there are tactics to Caterham racing. You don't necessarily want to show your hand too soon, and you don't always want to hit the front too soon either. If they do start battling, you're absolutely right. That's 2 and a bit second gap back to the new third place man, Rob Warner, could really very quickly disappear. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I do think that William Van Ness will catch the leader. What he chooses to do when he gets there awaits to be seen. Battle for 4th position now. Brendan Maud having fallen back out of the podium places. Still defending from William Bryant. So it is that Rob Warner has been gaining ground, hasn't he, really, in the second of the blue and orange cars. Rob Warner up into 3rd position. And he, I don't think he's going to have a huge amount of chance of catching the leading two, but he certainly wants to try and distance himself from the 4th place squabble, which is going to be side by side, I think, heading into the first corner. There's a better run off the final turn there for William Bryant, but he couldn't quite get the move made against Brendan Maud. That inside line, John, at the first corner, it's tricky, isn't it? Because if you get a better... Oh, what's that in the road? There's a nose cone that's gone missing. Where did that come from? I'll get back to the point I was making in a moment. There it is. It's the car at the back of this group which is missing its nose cone. There's a surface flag out as a result. And who is that? That will be, I think, the 16 car of Peter Hughes, who is missing the front bodywork. Yes, he is. So a bit of a close moment there coming out of the first corner, which, as I was starting to say, John, is an interesting one, isn't it, turn 1? Because if you get a good exit from the final turn, it's so tempting to go to the inside into turn 1, but you lose all of your momentum. It's such a momentum sort of corner. It's not always the best move to make, is it?
Yeah, exactly that. If you can sort of force your way through on the inside and get that exit line as well, get the move done, then sweet, it works well. But if you continue on side by side and you give that other driver enough space to hang it around the outside, like you say, you're just losing loads of time, you end up still being side by side down into turn 2, you're then on the more difficult outside line, you might lose the place again. All you've done is lose both of you a number of seconds and then just drop further back into the pack. Well, I thought initially that our third place driver, Mr. Warner, might just scamper off from this battle for fourth as they continue to rage on, going side by side, but no, they've been reeled back in once again, and the battle for third might just continue. Still potential for a podium place here for some of these drivers in the chasing pack. But yeah, a bit of an odd one there. Like we said, we're used to seeing wings off in the Caterham, so the nose cone's a little bit different.
Yes, a little bit of a misjudgment somewhere, I suspect, but it's not slowing Peter Hughes down. He's still at the back of this group, a 5-way fight then, essentially, for third position, with a change for fourth on that lap then, with, in the end, William Bryant managing to get back ahead of Brendan Maud up the back straight. They have to dodge to the left-hand side to avoid that front bodywork, which is going to create some issues if you want to try and make a move into that banking at turn 2. The inside line is no longer really available to you, because that would mean running straight into the bodywork in the middle of the road. Out of Church, up the school straight, which isn't a straight at all. It's got two flat out, but still quite sharp right-hand kinks in it, and so it's a shorter distance up the hill on the right-hand side of the road, and that is favouring then, at the moment, William Bryant, but he's on the outside line into Rocket. Can he go right round the outside through the left? That gets the inside for the right. I think that's going to work. Good move made.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, fantastic there from Bryant. He'd already got one place on the previous lap, and now he's got another one as well. Up into the podium positions he goes then, and for the first time in a number of laps, Warner is shuffled back out of said podium places and now finds himself under a bit more pressure from those drivers following in tow as well. Yeah, like we said, that front nose coming off down at the first corner. We've still got slippery surface flags down there. Was watching them come through on the previous lap. None of them seem to be too slidey through T1, so seemingly all okay for the moment, but drivers just needing to be a little bit careful through the rest of this race. There's a couple of drivers diving very deep on the brakes there into the hairpin. A little lock-up, but they've all made it through.
And one car that was on the grass going into the left-hander at the top of the corkscrew. I was trying to figure out whether they all survived that. I think it was the second of the PT Sports cars in that group that may have lost some ground. Leaders across the line. We are halfway through the 20 minutes now, and it remains nose to tail pretty much between the top two drivers, with a Caterham length or so between the number 3 of Stephen Clark and then the pole sitter number 35 William Van Ness. But do get the feeling here, John, that William is just biding his time and waiting for his opportunity.
It seemed like he was catching up hand over fist, wasn't it, at one point in this race a few laps ago, and now it's sort of stabilised again. I felt that Clark might come under a little bit more pressure than this, but not for the moment. Saying that, though, we've still got just under 10 minutes left to go in this race. We're only just over half race distance here, so Van Ness has got time to play with, but of course the longer he waits, the more those opportunities dwindle, so at some point he's going to have to go for it. For the moment, he's not quite within touching distance. We'll keep our eyes on that one, though. For the moment, we'll keep watching this coverage of the battle for third place on the stream. This is where it all is still a bit touchy out there, and drivers trying to work themselves out and find some more positions. I think those two have swapped round earlier in this lap. They have. So Maud is through once again on Warner. So Warner back down into 5th place, and now he's under pressure from Hughes, of course, the driver in the number 16, who is missing that front nose cone. And like Andy mentioned earlier, despite missing the nose, doesn't seem to have hampered his pace at all. And like we mentioned, not massively aerodynamic, these cars, so missing the front nose cone doesn't seem to affect things too much. He's still right there getting involved.
Yes, he is, and I guess when the car isn't that aerodynamic to start with, losing bodywork doesn't necessarily hurt you too much, especially when you're in the tow. He might struggle to lead a group, but he doesn't need to until we get to the end of the race, I suppose. So yeah, he's very much still going to be a factor in this one until the dying moments, I suspect. Move made at the back of the group. In fact, that's a lapped car, I think, getting out of the way. No, it wasn't. It was Charles Elliott being overtaken, I caught in the back of shot, and then re-overtaking the 89 car of Thomas McEwing, who slipped back to the inside of him into turn 1, and I think made that move stick. So, but again, that little exchange of positions there, twice they changed places in 2 corners. Look how much time they've lost now to the group of cars ahead. To your point, John, you have got to be careful. It's quite easy to lose momentum, lose time, and perhaps fall out of slipstreaming range.
Yeah, they're very slow and sort of sloppy corners, aren't they? You lose that bit of time and big wobble on the exit curb there, off onto the grass while missing the nose cone. Maybe not helping so much there through the fast right-hander. Maybe just carrying in a little bit too much speed because he wanted to make the move on Warner ahead of him. Of course, lost that slight bit of momentum there over the grass. Didn't hamper him too much, though. Didn't lose the position and held the slide as well. Very impressively so. That would have been a little bit of a scary one, heading through a very fast part of the circuit. But thankfully, he's kept all four wheels facing in the right direction and continuing to press on, because not only is he looking ahead to the 58 of Warner, he's also got the 94 of Mara right in his wheel tracks as well. Now, speaking of right in the wheel tracks, here is Van Ness, finally within touching distance of your race leader of Clark now, as they head through onto a new lap of the race very shortly. Maybe we'll see those gloves start to come off.
Yeah, well, I still think he's waiting. I mean, we've got 6 3/4 minutes to go. There's, in a way, no point making the move until the last lap. But then, where do you make it on the last lap? Do you make it up the back straight into Rocket, or is even that a little bit too early? Because there are other overtaking opportunities further around the lap. I noticed there's a novice cross on the back of William Van Ness's car. Is that maybe going to play into this? The less experienced drivers sometimes can be tempted into going for the move a bit earlier, whereas those who've done a bit of Caterham racing over the years will know that patience is key. So, yeah, going to be fascinating to see what tactics he utilises in the closing laps. They're the class of the field, though, aren't they, John? Because they're 7 seconds now clear of this battle for third position. I know they're tripping over each other a bit, this group, but that is impressive pace being set by the top two.
Yeah, they're absolutely cleared off, haven't they? They're almost back in England at this point. They're so far clear of the rest of the field, and almost thought the scrap was going to start then up into Rocket, but not this time. I was just thinking, actually, it might be the better call to go for it a little bit earlier, because like you say, up at Rocket, that is where Clark is going to be expecting it on the final lap. So maybe one of the corners where we said maybe you shouldn't go for a move, there's almost nearly contact up at Rocket, isn't there, this battle for 4th place, that maybe the corners that we've been saying, such as T1, that aren't a good place to go for a move, might just be the best one to catch out the race leader where they're not expecting a move. We'll wait and see what Van Ness decides to do, but for the moment, like you say, just over 5 minutes left to go, and for the moment, William is watching and waiting in the wings, maybe just studying where Stephen isn't quite as quick as him.
Well, interestingly, we didn't catch it on the stream, but out of the window up the back straight that time, William Van Ness did try to get alongside Stephen Clark for, I think, the first time, went to the left-hand side of the road and got very firmly squeezed over onto the grass. So that was his first real attempt at getting through. Maybe a dress rehearsal for later in the race, but again, you don't want to show your hand too early, do you? So I'm sure Stephen Clark will be wise to that move now going forward. In third position, by the way, now a fairly uncontested third place, is William Bryant. 4th place was a bit closer, but William Bryant has really distanced himself now from the 4th place battle, which is still headed by Rob Warner, despite an attack there from Brendan Maud. Changed for 9th that time, with James McCall moving through ahead of Charles Elliott. That is 3 positions gained from where he started. Yeah, William Bryant now a little bit lonely in that 3rd position, but he won't be all that disappointed at that, I suspect.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. He was sort of the one we were expecting, I think, weren't we, in terms of that group to maybe be the one that could scamper on clear. He got a couple of positions in only the space of a couple of laps. Pace looked really good, and now he's been able to motor on through. But as we look back to the leading gaggle, it has switched around.
Yep, saw that coming. It was a dress rehearsal a lap ago for William Van Ness, and he managed to make the move stick up the back straight that time. It was a fairly simple slipstream pass, but he went to the right-hand side that time because he realised that Stephen was going to put up a fairly stern defence as he had a lap earlier. So now Williams shown his hand, he's taken the lead. We've still got 3 minutes 40 to go, so there are another couple of laps of racing remaining. Has Stephen Clark got an answer? I'd be very surprised here, John, if William Van Ness could simply pull away from Stephen Clark. So he has to expect that there will be a retaliation incoming here.
100%, yeah, we've got to expect it. It's just a case of where will Stephen go for it to try and get back through on William Van Ness. Of course, Van Ness does have the fastest lap of the race so far of a 140 dead, but it's only a 140.1 for Clark. So they're almost inseparable in terms of pace, but a bit of a lock up there into the final corner from Clark. That's not going to help with his run all the way through onto a new lap, and of course all the way through down into turn 2. So a little bit of fresh air gained by William Van Ness there, and a new fastest lap of the race. The first driver below the 1 minute 40 mark, a 1 minute 39.8 for Van Ness. What was it you were saying about him not scampering off?
Well, and I'll tell you what, that little lock-up for Stephen Clark tells me that he's having to push just to match the leader. Now, the slipstream will do some of the work here, but yeah, that is interesting. It's a bigger gap that William Van Ness has now than Stephen Clark's had for quite some time. So, yeah, this is very promising pace for William, who just went quicker, actually, than his own pole position time. That was Stefano Mara getting to the inside of Peter Hughes going into Church Corner. It's another fairly brave place to try and make a pass. And did it work? It did not. He's still behind Hughes as they head up the back straight towards Rocket. And the cars then approach the braking point. And we'll wait and see exactly what the outcome of that was. They've just gone over the top of the hill through Rocket and Peel, and they'll shortly be back in our sight.
I think there was a switch around up at Rocket as well, because of course we saw Mara looking for the move on Hughes through that fast right-hander of Church, but then by the time they got up to Rocket, I think that Mara had lost enough momentum that McEwen could actually dive up the inside into Rocket and gain 7th place away. So just showing there, when you're looking for a move around Anglesey, if you don't get it done, you're then going to be under pressure from drivers behind, because you lose that momentum, you lose that slipstream a little bit, and suddenly drivers able to get back stuck in once again. Well, as we tick down towards 0 time left in this race, that checkered flag, we're looking on towards it now, but Van Ness has got one hand on that first trophy of the weekend, hasn't he? Still only half a second between these two, and there has been a reply then from Clark. He's down into the 39s as well.
Yeah, 997 is bang on pole position pace as well, but this is the final lap, so this is there's no more tactics now. It's about just making the move, I think, for Stephen Clark. Is he close enough heading up the back straight for the final time? I'm not convinced he is. He will close here in the slipstream on William Van Ness, but is he going to get close enough to have a lunge in the braking zone? He's within a couple of car lengths, in fairness. Here he goes to the inside line. He's late on the brakes. There's a lock-up for William Van Ness, who had no choice really there but to sidestep and allow Stephen Clark through. So Stephen Clark gets the lead, but there is half a lap still to go. There are at least 1 or 2 more potential overtaking opportunities to come, most notably at the hairpin of the penultimate corner of the circuit. If William Van Ness can stay this far back, he might still have an opportunity.
Great battle going on over 4th and 5th as well. That group still very exciting as Van Ness. Was that a little lock-up? Was that a kick up the dust? I think it was a bit of both, really, as we head down towards the hairpin for the final time. And Clark moves over to defend then, not using the slipstream as Van Ness. He moves over to take the genuine racing line as we head down into the hairpin. It's going to have to be a good exit here from Van Ness, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, really good exit, actually. He's going to be close enough to force at least a defensive move out of Stephen Clark here, but could this be a desperate scrabble to the line? I think it will be, because Clark will be compromised here on the inside line. William Van Ness takes the later apex, gets on the power quicker. It is going to be a near-dead heat, but just about by, what's that, half a Caterham length maybe, or 66 thousandths of a second if you prefer. It was Stephen Clark who held on to the win, but William Van Ness so nearly nailed that. He did everything right, just didn't quite get to the line in time. William Bryant will come home in 3rd, and 4th position is going to be Brendan Moore ahead of a sideways Rob Warner, with Peter Hughes, who's the leading trophy contender, in 6th position, getting the better of Thomas McEwen. James McCall 8th, and yes, Stefano Mara dropped back down to 9th position there at the end, ahead of Charles Elliott.
Yeah, we had one driver slightly wide at the final corner. I think that might have been Stefano Mara there, hence losing an extra place there just as we got to the line. A shame for him there, but either way, what a race to kick off the weekend then. I mean, we always know that Caterham racing is going to be exciting, but that was a fantastic one. I think both of us caught out a little bit there by Clark's re-overtake. Neither of us thought he was close enough there to go for it, but he got it.
No, and I'm surprised William Van Ness didn't. It's easy for me to say, I know, but I'm surprised he didn't put up more of a fight. He left the inside open. Maybe he thought Stephen Clark was too far back as well. And again, it's that experience, isn't it? William Van Ness, a much less experienced driver than Stephen Clark. Stephen maybe had just been keeping 5% of braking capability in his back pocket for that point, and had sort of tricked William almost into thinking that the move wasn't on. It's a question maybe that Richard can ask the drivers down in Parc Ferme, but yeah, really interesting tactics. And then at the end, William not using the slipstream into the hairpin. I thought that was maybe a bad move, but the exit from the hairpin was almost enough to put him back within striking range.
Almost. That slight lock-up into the final corner from Van Ness. He got a lovely run despite that. They went side by side across the line, as we saw, 66 thousandths of a second. But could it have been 66 thousandths the other way? if you hadn't quite got that luck up. All these tiny little things that decide races, that decide championships at the end of the season. Well, we've been here to enjoy the action, and my goodness, what a way to start the weekend, like we say. Plenty more Caterham races coming up throughout today, and of course throughout the weekend as well. Make sure you stick with us for that.
Absolutely so. That is our last race before lunch, but as I said, don't go anywhere. We've got, first of all, our post-race interviews with the Caterham drivers. That's going to be well worth listening into to get their thoughts on what was a very entertaining start to the day, but we've also got plenty of Fun Cup content. Their first race, remember, is coming up immediately after lunch, so that will be the first of the 2 3-hour races for the Fun Cup Endurance Championship. Then Fiesta Juniors will be out at about 4 o'clock. We'll have the Sigma 135 category for the Caterham graduates at 4:30. At 5 o'clock, or 5 past 5 in theory, the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship, and then we have our final Fun Cup racing action, which kicks off at 5 to 7 and will finish at 5 to 10. Just as the sun starts to set over the Anglesey circuit later on this evening. It's a busy day, it's a long day, but it's a thoroughly enjoyable one, and that race, I think, has rather set the tone, hasn't it?
100% has. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy coming back to Anglesey. The racing that this circuit produces is second to none, and the Caterhams have proved that already. I'm interested to see how it changes as well, depending on the different layouts of the circuit as well. Of course, all of the championships, all the classifications using that long loop layout apart from our Fun Cup Championship. They'll be on the coastal layout. I've driven both. I think for myself, my favourite is the coastal layout, only for the couple of corkscrew corners. That section is like nothing else at any British racetrack.
It's fantastic, isn't it? We'll talk about that more later on, I am sure. Confirmation here of the provisional result for that Caterham Graduates Sigma 150 Championship race. Stephen Clark by a nose wins from William Van Est, with William Bryant completing the podium finishes. Then it was Brendan Maud and Rob Warner, with Peter Hughes winning the trophy class, again narrowly, only 4/10 or so ahead of Thomas McEwing. James McCall, Stefano Mara and Charles Elliott complete the top 10. Then it was Andy Whitten and Jonathan Ems, with Ian Anderson and Nigel Gold in 14th position. And then 15th place, Will Price, who was also on the trophy podium there, third in the trophy class ahead of Graham Ewings. Alan Arts, who had the damage, one of a few drivers in fairness to pick up a bit of damage in that race. Robert Appleton, Ed Benton, the last of the finishers. Barry White, unfortunately, was a retiree. Yes, he wasn't running at the flag. He came back in and out of the pit lane a couple of times, but unfortunately retired to the pits with some sort of mechanical trouble. So that's our first race done. We're awaiting an opportunity, hopefully in a moment, to hear from our Caterham podium finishers, and they will be back out again tomorrow. The Sigma 150s. We will, as I said, have the Sigma 135 category out a little bit later on, as the wind starts to really pick up. And this has always been a circuit, John, that's quite wind sensitive and wind effective. Speaking to a few of the Fun Cup teams earlier on today, and wind is always a talking point. It is quite windy. It's going to get windier as the day goes on. Is that something from your experience that has affected this the cars at this circuit a bit more than others? Yeah, massively. Really, really does here. As we know, this circuit's super open to the elements, of course, hence why we get such beautiful views of the Welsh Highlands, the mountains over on the other side of the bay. Such a beautiful view from this Anglesey circuit, particularly from up here in the commentary box. We are treated here at Anglesey, but as you say, allows for the wind to roll in across the circuit, and that does really affect things across all the different championships racing, but particularly those Fun Cup cars. I mean, they're not the most aerodynamically efficient, are they, at the best of times? So particularly when you've got a headwind running up the hill towards Rocket, that really, really creates great racing, because that driver leading the train is losing so much time up the hill to Rocket, opens up opportunities for the other drivers to make moves. It does indeed, as we saw in that Caterham race, and we can get the thoughts now of the drivers. Richard John Neal is in position to chat to our podium finishers.
That's a nice way to start the weekend, wasn't it, here on Anglesey, with some terrific Caterham racing and obviously lead changes and strategy and all sorts of things. We are going to go podium bound. We're not actually on a podium per se. I'm going to do 3, 2, 1. I'm going to drag over William Bryant, who is there, third place. Congratulations, William. First chat of the weekend. Hopefully we'll have 2 or 3 chats with you over the course of it. Championship leader and another podium. That bodes well, doesn't it, for points collecting over the weekend?
Yeah, it's going really well. Obviously, I would have wanted to be a bit higher up, but yeah, P3 is good for the championship, and just hopefully I can do a bit better tomorrow.
What would you change, do you think, going into the course of the other races?
I had a terrible start, dropped down to like 5 or 6 places, so I had a lot of work to do from that one. So tomorrow, if I get a better start, I can be fighting up there for the win. Yeah.
In terms of, as I say, points really absolutely key, aren't they, to doing it? You qualified P2, so decent start to the weekend. You're in the right ballpark, and a couple of points lost isn't really a bad thing.
Yeah, so it's obviously a good result for championship. Hopefully I can get some more results like that again tomorrow.
What are the races been like for you so far this year? This is the third event?
Yeah, third event. Round 1 was very good. Round 2 wasn't so good, had some gearbox issues, but overall it's gone quite well so far this year.
Okay, we'll let you crack on. You're obviously worn out after driving around. Congratulations, lovely to see you, Will. Well done on the podium. It's William Van Ness in second position. I don't know the drivers. Here's William, excellent. He's ready. Thanks for being ready for the interview.
No,
and
I was told.
Lead there at one point, and then timing's crucial, isn't it, on Caterham racing?
No, absolutely. Timing is crucial. I sat behind Stephen for most of the race. He got a great start, and we were gapping the rest of the field, so it made sense to just hold station for the race. And then I went for a move. He got a bad run down the straight, went for a move, got past him 5 minutes to the end, something like that, and then I didn't see the last lap board, so I didn't defend. So that's what it was. Maybe could have held the win, but hopefully the second race and second and third races tomorrow will be there.
Yeah, I was sort of ticking off. I noticed that you'd had a win in championship earlier on, but it was second place on track because you got the trophy runners to think about as well.
Yeah.
Is a P2 to a trophy guy still okay with you? I mean, you guys like to race anyway. You want to be first across the flag, don't you?
I'm actually in the full championship and I haven't had a win yet, so I'm holding on for a win, hoping to get that tomorrow.
If you're P2 to a trophy guy, though, you still get championship points, though, don't you?
That is true. Yeah. That is true. But Stephen's in the championship as well, and he beat me. So it's like the top 3 cars here are the top 3 guys in the championship. So we're going to be pushing, I think, all of us for the best positions we can over the weekend. What's
going to change between now and race 2, or is that trade secret? Is there much you can do on these?
There's not much you can do. We might change the setup a little bit. Stephen was getting off a couple of the slower corners a bit better than me, so we'll see if we can change something to get off those corners a little bit better. But it's so close around here. They were so close between us. I don't think there's going to be much in it at all. It'll just be racecraft and who's there on the last lap.
It's nice when it comes down to the pure racing, isn't it? Between 2, maybe 3 or more people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've said it before in this championship, but the racing is very, very close and generally very clean, especially at the front. So it's a great championship to be a part of, and I've enjoyed it so far.
What's your background, William? Did you just come straight into Caterham's, or have you got any other background?
I raced karts for years. I did karting from when I was 12 to 20. So about 8 years of karting, but that was a few years ago now.
Did you do Kart Stars? Because I vaguely remember your name.
No, I did Super 1. I did Super 1 for 6 years in TKM and then in 125 gearbox, so short circuit karting. But I finished in 2014, and now this is my first ever car racing season, so it's going all right.
And what, dare I ask about ambition? I mean, Caterham offers plenty. You've come in graduates at the top tier, haven't you? So
yeah. I thought about what I wanted to do. I was between a few different championships, met a few people. Caterham racing is awesome. It's very similar to karting actually when you're driving. Just got to get used to the gearbox. Second to third, I'm still not doing very well, crunching the gears between second and third, which is less good for the gearbox. But no, it's a really good championship. Came in at the 150 in the 150 class. It just suits me a bit better. It's got a locking diff. Yeah, good fun. Ambitions, I don't know. Do the best I can. I'm here to have fun.
Do you know, it's nice when people have got a sort of a map, but equally it's nice to have people like yourself that are in it, enjoying what you're doing, and you'll look at where you need to go when you need to go.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks very much, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
Top stuff for closing the interview as well there. Let's talk to our winner, Stephen Clark. Let's get Stephen across as well. And thanks to everyone for the Caterham grads for getting everyone organised. Stephen, cracking race, long time lead, lose it, and then you get it back again. As I just said to William, timing is absolutely everything. You obviously felt that you could get it back, and obviously cleanly as well. So congratulations on a win. Fine race. Just talk us through it from your point of view.
Strategy was basically to to try and break away as quick as I could. I knew I'd get a good start, so I just went. I knew Will would be there or thereabouts. Obviously, Caterham racing, you cannot escape. So I was just waiting for him to sort of sit on my bumper. I expected him to sit there the whole race, but he did pass me. And I just sat with him until the end of the race, and then I knew that if I got past him, I could defend it down this final straight, and sort of block the corner off, which worked, and then it was just a drag to the line. So it was good. It was a good race. Played out pretty well.
It's as pure racing as you can get, isn't it, Caterham? It's marvellous to watch, and I keep telling myself I need to go in the car and have a go. I'm too old to start racing now, but I definitely need to try.
Yeah, and I don't think you're ever too old to start racing, especially Caterhams, because they're so much fun.
In terms of, I've asked the guys the same question. Obviously, you've got a little bit of a break now between races 1 and 2. Any thoughts? How much feedback goes? Are you with the team, by the way? Or?
Yeah, so we're with CTS. Always been with CTS. They're the guys that we run with, and absolutely love them. In terms of setup, really, it's check the car over, make sure it's all looking good for tomorrow. I don't feel like I need to change anything on setup. I was pretty happy with it, so it just comes down to the strategy in the race, really.
Again, that's what you want, isn't it? To come racing, you get the car as right as possible, and then not muck about with it. Just literally enjoy the seat time.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this championship. You've got really tight regs, you've got limited tyres. It's a lot down to the driver. Qualifying, there was maybe a tenth of a second between the top 3, and that makes it so accessible for everybody. But it also makes the racing absolutely fantastic, and I think that race was evidence of that.
Do you watch the 135s as well?
Yes, yeah. Because you don't get to see a lot of racing apart from being in the hot seat. So I always make sure I get out. Ben Winrow, who's also CTS driver and normally one of my main competitors in this championship as well. He's in the 135 this weekend, so I'll be watching him. I'm
looking forward to that. So I remember Ben in Clio Cup a few years ago. I was lucky enough to commentate on him in that, and I'd forgotten he was here. I did see his name on the entry, but looking forward to that. Stephen, well done on the win. Hopefully we'll get to chat to you again later on in the meeting.
Crossed, yeah.
Stephen Clark, thanks very much, mate. Well done. Congratulations. I don't know if we have trophy podia as well. I'm going to see whether we've got Peter Hughes, who was the winner. Is Peter here? Peter, we'll grab a quick word as trophy winner.
Oh yeah, hi.
We'll grab a quick word. Hello, we've got time because we're going into lunch break, and nice to chat to you. Congratulations on the trophy win. Trophy for reviewers, I don't know if Andy explained it, but basically you have to pick or nominate 3 meetings over the course of the season, so it's a slightly reduced calendar, and that works out well to someone who maybe hasn't got the budget to do a full championship season.
Yeah, absolutely. So, pick my 3 favourite tracks and go for it. Anglesey's my favourite place. It feels like a second home. And then we, just choose our 3 and go for that, really.
And talk us through the race. Obviously good to get a trophy win. I guess you want to be, we've seen trophy guys taking overall wins over the course of the season, but it's about points, isn't it? So you'll be happy to take the class win.
Yeah, absolutely. So started 6th, finished 6th, got to be happy with that. I was kind of knocking on the door, getting a bit higher, and then as you can see from the car, missing numerous bits of bodywork, a few bits of contact, but overall really good, really pleased to be up there. Hopefully next race we'll go a bit further.
Will they recover the nose cone for you?
I think it got hit. I don't think it's going to fit back on again. So, we'll get it fixed. We'll be out tomorrow. Be
Next, another question. Sorry to keep you here. You probably want to get away for your lunch, but is there a spares package on, in the paddock where you can get parts like that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of spares around. With PT's Motorsport, they carry plenty of spares, and everyone carries their own little bits and pieces because it's, as you'd be aware, with Caterham racing, it's not uncommon for these bits to go missing. So, there are plenty of parts around. It'll be all good.
And if I may just trouble you for one more question, what's your background? I mean, was Caterham's for a lot of people is the intro. I mean, it is a great form to come in, but we've spoken to a couple of other guys. William did karts and so on and so forth. Was this your debut?
Yeah, so it's my 3rd season with Caterham's now, so I decided 3 years ago and just went straight into it. I've always wanted one from day one really, but finally managed to get the budget together, and then straight into Caterham's.
You're being called to the podium proper, so I'll let you get away. Thanks very much for the chat. That was our trophy winner there, which was good to hear from. Peter Hughes, you saw the missing bodywork that he was talking about over the course of that race with John and Andy up in the commentary box. I think we're heading into a lunch break, so I'm not sure if we're going into ad break because I've taken my ears out so I could hear the drivers, so apologies for that. But it's either an ad break or back to the commentary box. We are going into an ad break. I'm here. I did actually hear that now. So thanks for that. Little ad break coming up. But please stay with us on the stream. We've got some more cracking racing coming up for you, including, of course, the first of our 3-hour Fun Cup races. So please stay with us.
So 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th coming into red gate corner. And also at the tail end of this group, you've got the red PLR racing car. On board then with Barkini coming out of Hollywood down the infamous Crater Curves. And look how close they are, they almost touch. Absolutely flat out down the hill. But brave stuff this from Barkini down the inside. Terrific move. They gave each other just enough room.
I think it's the camaraderie and then also the close racing. There's some fantastic drivers out there. Very fair, you know, they'll leave enough room, but there's some really quick guys, you know. You get a lot of seat time, pound per minute, it's cheaper than pretty much any other series I've looked at. And then everyone's so helpful, you know, the top teams are giving you their data and supporting you, getting you up to speed. So the level for club racing is as good as it gets.
I've got clients that described it as a 4-hour sprint race.
It's fun, it's intense, it's friendly. It's just mega racing, mega close racing.
Lots and lots of people taking part in it, good atmosphere, yeah, generally great fun.
It is some of the closest racing I've done. But also, you know, everyone is very friendly.
Just amazing atmosphere, whether it be on track or off track as well. So, yeah, can't recommend it enough.
So 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th coming into red gate corner. And also at the tail end of this group, you've got the red PLR racing car. On board then with Barkini coming out of Hollywood down the infamous Crater Curves. And look how close they are, they almost touch. Absolutely flat out down the hill. But brave stuff this from Barkini down the inside. Terrific move. They gave each other just enough room.
I think it's the camaraderie and then also the close racing. There's some fantastic drivers out there. Very fair, you know, they'll leave enough room, but there's some really quick guys, you know. You You get a lot of seat time, pound per minute. It's cheaper than pretty much any other series I've looked at. And then everyone's so helpful. You know, the top teams are giving you their data and supporting you, getting you up to speed. So the level for club racing is as good as it gets.
I've got clients that described it as a 4-hour sprint race.
It's fun, it's intense, it's friendly, it's just mega racing, mega close racing.
Lots and lots of people taking part in it, good atmosphere, yeah, generally great fun.
It is some of the closest racing I've done. But also, you know, everyone is very friendly.
Just an amazing atmosphere, whether it be on track or off track as well. So yeah, can't recommend it enough.
Welcome back everybody to Anglesey Circuit for day one of our Brscc Summer Festival. As you may have noticed, I'm not Richard John Neal, I'm Jamie Peters-Ennis, and I'll be in the pit lane throughout our 2 3-hour Fun Cup races. Cars are just in the assembly area now. We've got a packed 28 car grid, a record for the Anglesey Circuit. So let's have a wander. Sam and I will have a wander, and let's have a chat with Race Logic. They've been drawn on pole position in our random grid draw. Julian Thomas is just in the car now, so let's have a chat with Jules, if that's okay. If we can get the door open, that'll be fantastic. Good afternoon, sir. It's been a while since the pointy end, isn't it?
Hello, Jamie. Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm very excited. And it's the first time in a long time that I said, do you know what, I'm going to start this race. And that was before they pulled me out on pole. So, yeah, very lucky.
How was qualifying this morning? Car all right?
Yeah, car felt really good. Yeah, no excuses, unfortunately.
And of course, 2 races today. Are we just treating it like any other normal weekend?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. Keep my nose clean. Got Uvio next to me, so that's good news for me because they're super fast, super clean. They're not going to do anything silly. So yeah, good. And I try not to hold them up.
All right, fantastic. Good luck, Jules. That's Julian Thomas, who'll be starting the Race Logic car. Now, let's have a chat with Fabulous. He's got himself a fabulous new toy. So they've jumped into the 403 car. Mr. Randaccio, how's your new toy?
Oh, it's pretty, isn't it?
It looks lovely.
I'm almost worried about scratching it. It's so nice.
You'll be all right. The only thing is, have you got to give it back after this weekend?
Well, that remains to be seen, really. We might just jump in another one instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've been sort of working your way around the fleet over the years. How does the 403 chassis compare to the car that you've been running for the last decade or so?
I actually drove both cars yesterday for a bit, and they're both lovely. I mean, to be honest, all the JPR cars you get in them, they're great. There's just a little bit of differences, so it's less about the chassis, it's more about when you do a pit stop, the belts and getting used to the different buckles and, you know, where the ignition key is, and it's little stuff like that, seating position. But it's great. The car's wonderful. But 225 was in a great place as well. So yeah, I'd take either of them in a heartbeat.
All right. Well, good luck for the race. That's Fabulous Randaccio. Right. Next up is Tropical Rocket Racing. That's got Josh Phelps and Neo Clark. We'll let Neo get ready. So we'll have a chat with Josh in his striking new race suit. Decent grid draw, mate.
It's brilliant. P3. It's awesome.
Yeah. You had a great run up at Alton Park. You elected to miss Snet. How's the car feeling today?
Car's great. It was tricky morning yesterday, but since then it's been good. It's been getting quicker every time. It's first time here again, so for both of us. And I mean, Neo's on fire. He's so good. So yeah, hopeful that we can really get a good result here. First race.
All right, thank you. That's Josh Phelps. Right, let me go down to the back of the grid and have a chat with GRD. They are our 2-time winners so far. Chris Devell will be getting ready, so I will just have a chat with Chris. He's just getting himself all sorted. Mr. Devell, quick word while you're getting ready. You're starting pretty much on the A55. Normal approach?
Yeah, normal approach. Try and stay out of trouble for the first lap or two. 28 cars here. Probably more jeopardy than normal. but we have seen a few races here without safety cars, so we have to be prepared for everything. But yeah, stay out of trouble, pick our way through, try and get sort of mid-pack by the end of the stint, and then we'll do the driver change.
And it's great to see so many cars out there.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a pity a couple had to cool off, but we've still got 28. Well, I've made up 3 places already because I was going to start 31st, so...
Yeah, you're practically in Cheshire, mate. Right, let's get the lid on and get ready. That's Christopher from Team GRD. We've got Johnny Molam here. He's just popping his helmet on. Now, Johnny, Bonamy and Gareth have got a bit of a Herculean task because they're racing 2 cars, and the grid draw was an absolute nightmare for you, wasn't it?
It was a bit because... we were hoping they'd be a bit closer together, but I'm starting the 200, Bond's starting the 257, and then when the 257 pits, I get out of this and get straight into it. So if there's no yellow, we're fine. I'll stop a little early and he'll go long. But if there's a yellow in the safety car in the pit window, then I've got to be within 10 seconds of him. Otherwise, they'll have finished fueling and I won't be in the pit lane to get in.
Well, you like a challenge, don't you, Johnny? That's Johnny Molam from Red River Sport. Right, let's pop down to FFS because last year they were on for a podium and unfortunately had a suspension failure. Lewis, you want to forget about this event last year and you want that podium this time round, don't you?
Yeah, we've come back for redemption. That's what it's all about. Yeah, what a cracking track and what a cracking grid this is this weekend. And yeah, fingers crossed we can do a few laps, get a few hours into the race, and then we'll see what happens.
Selected campaign this year. Are you still treating every weekend as normal, or are you taking a slightly different approach?
Yeah, we just treat it as normal. We want to win. Doesn't everyone, right? So yeah, we'll go out there all guns blazing and see what happens.
All right, thanks, mate. That's Lewis Thompson from Team FFS. Right, let's have a word with Chris Weatherall. He's just getting himself ready in the Axiometrics car. Mr. Weatherall, have a quick chat while you're chatting with Mr. Burton. It's going to be busy, this race, and how are we feeling?
Yeah, look, I've got my usual pre-race nerves, which I always get. So yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be busy. We're 11th, so not being daft. There's more than 11 cars that start the race every time, so it's just going to be it's just going to be the normal stuff. I think, like everything else, it's not 1 3-hour race; it's 2 3-hour races. So yeah, let's see what happens.
And you dragged Mr. Perrott back?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it wasn't exactly difficult to drag him back. So yeah, no, great to have him back in. It's yeah, he's fitted straight in, and we're doing well. He's been with us for the first 2 races, helping us on the belts and stuff. But yeah, it's great having him back. So yeah, we always used to be close to each other. We were 100th apart in testing. So yeah, that's kind of quite nice. We just need to get closer to Will, who seems to be a few more hundredths ahead of us, but then he's probably 20 kilos lighter.
Yeah, we need to sort these whippersnappers out, don't we?
Absolutely. I think a minimum weight for each driver. You're only allowed to get it if you're 100 kilos. I think that would be it. None of these 50 kilo drivers. Get rid of all of those. So.
Yeah, I think I've got a few more kilos to lose. Yeah, that's the thing. Thank you, mate. That's Chris Weatherall. Right, let me have a quick word with Pete Belshaw. He's just got himself in the Sherrodise UK car, making a welcome return back. Pete, how are we doing, mate? You feeling good?
Yeah, we're all good. Getting ready.
What's the thought for the race? You've got Matt Hyde with you. He's a quick little peddler, isn't he?
Yeah, the plan is to be there at the end and see where we are in the last 20-30 minutes. But between us, I think we've got to stay out of trouble. Get to that last half an hour and then see where we are.
All right, good luck, Pete. That's Pete Belshaw from Sherrodise UK. I'm not sure how much time I've got left, so we'll just keep going until I get shouted at in my ears. All right, let's have a chat with the other Red River Sport car. Okay, thank you, Kieran. He's just told me in my ears I've got 3 minutes. Right, Bon, you and Johnny have got a bit of a mission to try and pit at the same time.
I know, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I was just thinking it's the first time I've ever started in a race with Johnny in a different car in the same race, so it's a bit weird kind of racing against him but not racing against him.
And obviously you know what the golden rule is.
Yeah, tell him that, please.
Yeah. How's car feeling?
This one feels really good. Yeah. The 200 is slightly, it's funny, they're the same cars but they feel slightly different.
All right, well, good luck. That's Bonamy Grimes from Red River Sport, who's in the other car, but as you see, exactly the same livery. Right, so we've just got a chance maybe for one more driver, if I can find. They're all getting themselves ready. No, I think they're being told to start their engines. So what I'll do is I'll hand up to the commentary box, who will take you through the grid of this first epic 3-hour race.
Welcome everybody to Anglesey for the third and fourth round of the 2026 Fun Cup Endurance Championship. It's the annual visit to North Wales and it's always a spectacular event. Not one, but 2 3-hour races coming your way later on today. The first one this afternoon, the second racing into the night a little bit later on this evening. It's always been a highlight of the season and it's a circuit that always produces some top quality Fun Cup action. We've had 2 events so far at Alton Park and Snetterton. On both occasions, it's been this team who have done all of the winning. They've got the number 1 on the car for a reason. Team GRD, last year's champions, dominant again into the start of 2026. Can anybody stop them? That's really the question coming into this third event of the season. The good news is, for the neutrals anyway, there are plenty of teams who could potentially make their way to the top step of the podium this weekend. In fact, an Anglesey record, 28 cars set to take the start of the races today. It's so good to see the championship continuing to build in popularity, and here at a circuit where we don't always get the biggest grids, it's great to see 28 cars set to take action, including one team that are up for potentially a nice payday. The 248 team, brand new to the championship. If they finish on the podium in race 1, they'll be taking some hard-earned money back home with them at the end of the weekend. Stay tuned then over the course of the day to see what happens in rounds 3 and 4 of the Fun Cup Endurance Championship. Thank you very much, Andy. Yes, it is time to go racing very nearly for the Fun Cup Endurance Championship here at Anglesey. I have very quickly made my way back up to the commentary box to talk you through the action alongside John Ratcliffe, who joins me once more with a spectacular view of this circuit perched on the edge of an island off the coast of North Wales. It's an odd place to have a racetrack, but we're very, very glad that they built this place because it's a brilliant venue for racing and has over the years produced some of the all-time classic moments in Fun Cup Endurance Championship history, and we're about to make the next chapter of Fun Cup history here today. The first 3-hour race is about to get underway. The grid, as always, drawn at random, and it's former champions Team Race Logic who got the pole position. The 210 car started by Julian Thomas with the Uvio Hoffman's Motorsport number 403 car. We'll get into the story as to why they're in the 403 a little bit later on. A fabulous Randaccio alongside. Tropical Rocket Racing, a third. That's the 157 car started by Neo Clark, and former champions GCI Racing on row number 2. That car started by Ian Wood. Then it's the 62 fueled up racing car of the returning Paul Ellis Smith with Rob Boston Racing's with Rare Vinyl car number 169 starting alongside them. That car started by former MX5 champion Will Blackwell Chambers. Red River Sports number 257 is next. That will have Bonamy Grimes at the wheel. Johnny Molam is double stinting in the middle of the race in that car, former Le Mans sports car racing star. And the 248 hire car for JPR is next. That is started by Avery Baker, the Canadian driver, and that's the only team eligible for the £10,000 prize potentially, which again we'll cover, I'm sure, in detail later on. The top 10 completed by Sherrodies UK, multiple former Anglesey winners, the 251 team. Peter Belshaw at the wheel for stint number 1. Then it's the 557 Signature RV car of John Whitehouse. That has, interestingly, Peter Belshaw's long-time former co-driver Marcus Clutton as part of the driver lineup. Then it's Axiometrics number 103, Chris Wetherill alongside the 207 Demon Tweaks car, which an hour ago I was told wasn't starting, but I've now been told is starting. They've sorted the engine issues out on the 207, and Michael Lyons will take the start. See Data number 214 and next. That is started by Matt Hogg, and it's the Letec number 99 car alongside them. That is Shea Brennan in the car he shares with the man behind the Fun Cup Championship these days, Christian Rose. Then it's Team FFS number 220. That's Nick Heighton alongside FNS Morpheus M Sports number 109 car, which is Steve Walton in 16th position. 17th, Track Focus number 49. That car started by Sean Cooper. They're ones to watch, as are PLR Uvio. Again, there's another part of that Uvio story, the 225 car. That is the PLR driver lineup of Neil Plimmer and Tim Wheeldon, and it is Tim Wheeldon who will be starting from 18th. 19th on the grid, number 249. That's the next of the Demon Tweets cars. That's the all Minshaw lineup, Jason, Guy and Jack, with Jason Minshaw taking stint number 1 alongside Greenheath, another potential front runner, Gary Bate at the wheel starting from 20th. We're nearly nearly there, everyone. 28 cars to get through. 21st on the grid is 212. That is Vlad Vasiliev. Good to have Vlad and Ted back this weekend after the pairing, or at least Vlad missed Snetterton last time out. Sunoco Racing Team number 22 start appropriately in 22nd position. That is Phil Keane. Again, another car to watch, I suspect. Then it is 125 Exposure Lights, which is the Roger and Morgan Sparrow car. Roger Sparrow starting it, then Team Clapham North from 24th on the grid. A bit of work to do then for Abby Eaton, but we saw her lead laps early on at Snetterton, admittedly having started towards the front of the grid. 158 G-Force is next. That is Graham Winston at the wheel. Red River Sports number 200 is alongside on that row. The 13th row of the grid, Johnny Molam, who, yes, I did say was double stinting in another car earlier on. He's driving 2 cars in this race, again, just to keep us on our toes. Team Viking and Ursus Capital Racing's number 170 is next. That is Mark Home. And at the back of the grid, as is customary these days, it seems, is Team GRD. They will keep on winning races, and as Fun Cup rules dictate, if you win the previous race, you have to start the next one. Stone dead last on the grid. Who's taking the opening stint? It is Christabel, as often is the case, but they're doing a slightly quirky stint lineup, which we'll get into later. He's basically doing stints 1 and 3, and then the second half of the race down to his teammates Riley Phillips and Simon Rudd. Right, I need to sit down after that. I'm breathless already, and we haven't even started racing. 3 hours then is up ahead of us, John. What are we expecting from this? I mean, this is one of those tracks where we do tend to get good racing. It's the biggest grid we've ever had at Anglesey. I see no reason why this will be a snooze fest.
100%. I think both 3-hour endurance races today are going to be exciting ones to watch, so keep those eyes on those screens, and we'll be sure to guide you through all of the action here from Anglesey. I can't believe that from Johnny Molam. On the only day where we have 2 3-hour races, he decides to jump in 2 different cars.
And he's double stinting.
That's just crazy. Well, who else would we expect that from, to be fair, than from Mr. Molam? So let's see how he takes this one. But yes, as you mentioned, of course, Team GRD have just been amazing this season, haven't they? They just seem to somehow constantly get better, and you don't think they have any ability to get better, but they do, as we have
the GRD fan club has arrived behind us, I think, in the commentary box. Farkini and Neil Plimmer, who I'm sure are going to be cheering on the number 1 car in its quest to come from the back of the grid to the front, something they've both done on numerous occasions over the years. That is perilous here, though, isn't it? Starting from the back at some tracks, you know, a Silverstone, for example, a Donington maybe, not that dangerous. Here it's narrow, it's unforgiving. If you go off, there's grass which can tear the front splitter off the car in a moment. So Christabel's got quite a task on his hands here.
He has, but this is their usual strategy, isn't it, to be fair? You said it was slightly topsy-turvy in terms of him doing stint 1 and 3. Seems to be their usual strategy, isn't it, though? Because, of course, get his stints out the way earlier on. He can sort of motor his way through the traffic, settle into the action, and then hand over to Riley and Simon, and they'll do their best to try and get their way back to the front, as they have done so many times already this year.
Indeed so. Right, place your bets, everyone. 3 hours of racing, 28 cars. Can anyone beat the GRD squad, who have won both of the races so far this year? The Anglesey circuit has a habit of throwing up some slightly different results, and with 2 races, 2 opportunities for teams to get good points. It's GCI Racing, remember, who are second in the championship. Well, they're starting 4th on the grid, so golden opportunity for Ian Wood to try and put that car in a strong position. The cars then are making their way down through the corkscrew, which does not have cones across the middle of the road, as that picture would suggest. They are about to head down onto the start-finish straight. Race Logic then and the UVO Hoffman's Motorsport car on the front row together. It's a very congested start, but 3 hours of racing get underway, and it is going to be the Race Logic machine that grabs the early advantage into target corner. Hold your breath, everyone. Do they all get through safely? 1 or 2 a bit wide onto the curb. That was Vlad Vasiliev, I think, going 2 wheels over the exit curb further back, but they're all cleanly through. A little bit of brake lockups into the banking, but again, they're just giving each other almost enough room as they head out of the second corner and into Church, out of which comes the blast up the school straight. It's a brilliant sight they make, John. You're sort of shaking your head in disbelief. It's about to get even wilder, though, because this is where the slipstream well and truly takes effect.
Indeed, we're almost 3 wide for a few of our drivers heading up towards Rocket already, but the shake of the head was, I couldn't believe UVO were back into the lead already. Wasn't a great start from them off the 2x2 race start, but down through turn 2 and turn 3, they managed to get their way back to the sharp end, but it's chaos in the background. Big bit of contact up to Rocket. We've got a few few drivers off left, right and centre. I think they're all managing to get back underway again, but a bit of chaos there on that number 1.
Couldn't spot who that was. One of the Demon Tweaks cars took evasive action onto the grass, but there was a stationary car which has now got going, and they will presumably be back at the back of the pack when they come through at the end of lap 1. We'll try and piece that together in a moment or so, but it is definitely going to be that number 403 car with its retro livery that leads them out of the final corner. GCI had a go into Rocket, didn't they? Ian Wood tried to get to the inside line, but to no avail, and so Fabulous Randaccio leads the end of lap number 1. GCI Racing's Ian Wood in second, the Pole Sitters Race Logic down to third, and the Rob Boston Racing number 169 car is up from 6th on the grid to 4th position early doors. What progress have our championship leaders made, I hear you ask? Let's take a little look at the live timing. The GRD car is 25th, so a little bit of early progress made by Chris Devell, but he's doing what he always does, taking the opportunities when they come and not forcing the issue.
Exactly that, yeah. Picking up positions when they open themselves up to him, but equally not getting too stuck in and losing a nose cone early on, because that can hamper your performance through the rest of the race. Well, Vape Club have a lovely run up in the background, looking to make a move on a couple of cars up towards Rocket, but already that slipstream being shown, and already our top 6 trying to break away into a bit of a pack. We saw as well GCI making moves on that first lap. They made the move up into Rocket to pass V-Box. That was on lap number 2 a couple of moments ago, but already this group starting to sort itself out. Initially, Uvio, as you say, getting the well, not really the jump off at the start. It took a few more corners for them to get that race lead, but now they're settling into it. They're the only car really in that leading group with a few car lengths of gap to another driver. So can they scamper off? I mean, I'm saying this, we're not even 3 minutes into this race, Andy, but could they break away? That's what they need to do, but around a circuit like this, easier said than done.
Yeah, but they've got one of the fastest drivers on the grid in the car, haven't they, in Fabulous Randaccio, and he's already pulled a second gap over Ian Wood in second place, so that's good news for them. The car, oh, we'll get to that in a moment, because there's a lunge up the inside for the Rob Boston car for third position, and the 169 car is going to go through. That's Will Blackwell Chambers doing Will Blackwell Chambers things, and getting himself ahead of Race Logic into an early podium position. A bit early to be talking about the podium, I suppose. The car that had its dramas up at Rocket on lap 1, I fear, was the fueled up racing car of Paul Ellis Smith. This, of course, the venue at which they had a really nasty shunt a few years ago, which brought an early stoppage to a race, actually, at the final corner. Good to have them back in the championship, but their return hasn't gone well. They lost 23 positions on that opening lap with the skirmish up here at Rocket. Miraculously, though, given the fact they were, I think, inside the top 5 at the time, everyone survived that, and they're all still going.
Indeed. Some more excitement going on at the front end. Tropical Rocket Racing, we see them making the move up at Rocket, fittingly there for Tropical Rocket Racing. Up into 4th place they go. And I think they've also noticed as well how difficult it is for us as commentators to pick out whose car is who. So they made the 157 on the side, the biggest number you've ever seen. Well, thanks, Tropical Rocket. It helps us. Especially, I do need a new pair of glasses pretty soon. So cheers, Tropical Rocket. Helping us here in the comms box. And at the moment, pressing on really nicely in this first stint, making up a few more moves. And like we saw there, up into 4th place they go.
Yes, they do. That car going well then. It's been started by Neo Clark, who we've seen go well in the past in the championship, and Neo Clark continuing to show good pace. Rob Boston Racing, by the way, have set the fastest lap of the race, so Will Blackwell Chambers starting now to close in slightly on the leading 2. In fact, he's on the tail of Ian Wood already for second place, so nose to tail here for P2, and that 169 car is the fastest car on the track. He was a 10th quicker than the leader last time, although of course he had a slipstream, whereas Fabulous Randaccio is forging his own path at the head of the field. Here comes the move to the right hand side up the school straight, and I reckon that Vinyl Detail sponsored Rob Boston Racing car is going to have a nose ahead, and indeed has the position. By the time we get to the braking zone, the championship leaders are off. GRD are off coming out of turn number 2. There's been drama for Chris Devell, and the number 1 car is rejoining, but right at the back of the field. Jaws have hit the floor behind me, courtesy of Farkini and Neil Plymmer, who can't believe what they're seeing. The number 1 car, we do not see them have trouble often, but I said, didn't I, at the start, John, how treacherous it was starting from the back here, and already that has caught out Chris Devell.
A slightly odd place to have gone off that. Surely there must have been a bit of contact with another driver there. It was off on the infield out of turn 2, which really only happens if you get turned across the nose of another driver, so potentially a little bit of squabbling there for your championship leader, sees Christopher off in the grass. Well, he's got a lot to do then over the rest of this stint. A lot of time to catch even just the back of the next pack. When he hands over to the likes of Simon and Riley later on, they're going to have a lot of pressure on to try and get back up into the pack. For the moment, though, settling back into, well, as we say, last place and a good, what is that, 2 corners behind? That's a good 10 seconds or so, even just to catch second last at the moment.
And no front splitter, I believe. I think that front splitter's come off, at least on the right-hand side. In fact, it's gone completely, so no front splitter on the number 1 car, and that is really going to hurt you. This seems like a track. I've never driven this place. I've never driven anywhere in Anger apart from on a sim, but I'd imagine you rely on the front end quite a lot round here. How much will that hurt him?
Yeah, massively around here at Anglesey. That front splitter absolutely necessary as well. We see both cars going very wide there as Tropical Rocket Racing got the inside at Rocket once again. Very fitting for them to be making moves up there, and they've done it again. Up into third, that is now, past GCI. Both of them going nice and wide up there, but the 157 getting the position. But yeah, as you say, especially with the slipstream element as well, you're really relying on that front splitter, particularly sort of down through the middle parts of the circuit, those really fast corners where you're leaning on the car a lot. That's going to hamper the performance throughout the rest of this 3 hour for team number 1, because of course they can change that splitter, but that's going to waste so much time in the pit stop.
And they're going to lose time over this stint anyway with the damage, and what you really can't afford is to fall off the lead lap. If you get a safety car and you're trapped a lap down, that's day done. You're not going to get a decent result, and this is one of the shortest tracks we race at, so John, it's easier to fall off the lead lap here. They're already delayed courtesy of the spin, and I don't know if they're going to be able to afford to use that time in the pit lane, unless we get a safety car, of course, during a pit window to replace the front splitter. So, drama for the championship leaders. At the front of the field, meanwhile, Will Blackwell Chambers continues to push on. He, on the previous lap, was a couple of tenths quicker than the leader. It's a second and a half between the top 2, and Tropical Rocket Racing are up into third position. A really good start this from Neo Clark. The Tropical Rocket car then carving its way up the order, and they're not the only ones making moves. There's an attempt here on the inside line of the Race Logic car into Rocket, but no way through. That will be the Axiometrics 103 of Chris Wetherall, who again knows how to get it done in Fun Cup racing and tried to move into Rocket, but was just not quite close enough.
Indeed, a very experienced driver is Chris. He'll be getting well and truly stuck into this squabble at the sharp end very soon, won't he? But yes, Tropical Rocket, I mean, their best lap at 19.3. They put a 19.6 down on the last lap despite making that move on GCI, so there's clearly still more pace to find for Tropical Rocket Racing. I think themselves and Rod Boston, as we said earlier, the ones to watch here, they both looking to chase down Uvio at the moment, both ever so slightly faster on that last lap around the circuit. Saying that now, actually, sorry, Uvio back down into the 118 for the first time in this race, ever so slightly slower than the time from Rob Boston, but still right there matching pace. That's exactly what Uvio need to do here, because of course if Rob Boston get into that slipstream, they're going to quite quickly close up to the back of the leader. But as we've seen moves being made, of course, earlier on in this race. Very different to how we saw them in the Caterhams, of course, earlier on. 20-minute sprint race for that one. If someone's looking up the inside, you're going to defend it pretty hard, aren't you? In this one, drivers thinking a lot more long-term in this one. Right, someone's going for the move. Let's just let them go, slot in behind, and try not to lose time. So some slightly different racing to what we've seen already today, but very, very fun cup, as there might be another one up into Rocket. That was actually a Metrics thinking about it again, but again, not quite close enough.
No, not quite. I take your point about drivers maybe not fighting positions quite as hard, although this already feels... There we go. I rest my case. Off at the top of the hill goes one car after there was 3 wide contact, and they slide back onto the road. That was the 257 Red River Bonamy Grinds. It absolutely is. I was going to say the intensity level in this race already feels like it's higher than it ever was in what was a very exciting Caterham race, don't get me wrong, but with so many cars, identical in performance, a mixed up grid, this is what the opening stint of a Fun Cup race is all about. I can't believe we're only 9.5 minutes in. It feels like we've fit a whole race worth of action into this one. Fastest lap for the race leaders, so that's important. Fabulous Randaccio has got some serious pace, hasn't he? A 118.8 was about 2 tenths quicker than the second place car. Of course, neither of them have a slipstream, do they? Because Rob Boston Racing are nearly 2 seconds back, so that's genuine pace advantage for Uvio, who continue to pull away. Now, you are hearing us talk about the Uvio car leading the race, and yet you can see quite clearly a black and gold Uvio liveried car very much not leading the race. That is the traditional colours of the Uvio machine. There is a story to tell there, isn't there, John? I don't know how much of this you've been told pre-race, but there's been a bit of car swapping amongst that lineup, haven't there?
There has indeed, yes. I don't know how in-depth we'd like to go with it.
I've interviewed Farkini and he told me everything, so I don't. We haven't yet played that interview, but they're pretty happy, I think, for us to discuss. It's all down to basically the fact they were disqualified from from Snetterton, isn't it?
Indeed it is, yeah, of course, dropping them down to, I think it was 18th in the championship, wasn't it, because of that? Whereas, of course, the PLR team up in 8th, so they've effectively switched cars. And, of course, the points don't go towards the drivers, they go towards the car itself, because the numbers that the drivers are using aren't chosen by the drivers. That is the sort of effectively the chassis number, isn't it, of the car, and you score points towards that chassis number. So, effectively, UVO and PLR switching teams also switches the amount of points that they've got from the previous races. So, basically, you have done it to put themselves back into 8th in the championship, haven't they?
And the point that Farkini made to me this morning, which is quite interesting, because it's the car that carries the points, not the drivers, any driver who has driven that car at any point this season will be credited with the results that they get over the year. So Neil Plimmer, Tim Wheeldon and Ted Bradbury, who remember guested in that car last time out, they are all going to be eligible for whatever championship result they get. So if they win the championship, all 5 drivers will be crowned champion, even though they didn't all race the car at every round. So that's sort of what's going on. They spun it to me initially as they were jumping in to save Ted Bradbury's championship, and then they started to tell me more, and I realised they were certainly getting something out of the situation as well. But yeah, just one of the quirks of Fun Cup racing with the way the point scoring works. Good battles going on here in the midfield. This is the Sunoco car at the front of the group. This is for 13th position then. And for 14th, the Demon Tweaks number 249 car comes from a mile back to gain, I think, not 1 but 2 positions there. That was Jason Minshaw, and that was pretty brave.
It was nice, wasn't it? Really late on the brakes up into Rocket, and like you say, it already made a position earlier on than that. Now through on the 257 as well of Red River Sport. That train, though, a pretty long one here in the mid-pack. As you say, just outside of the top 10 are these drivers. And now already, Mr. Minshaw turning his attention to the Sunoco racing team in front. Yet again, another fastest lap of the race from UVO. Well, it's immediately stolen by Abby Eaton behind the wheel of the Team Clapham North car. Whereabouts in the order are they at the moment? Well, she's motoring on very well, isn't she? As they continue on to another lap of racing. Well, my point was going to be that UVO continuing to extend the gap as they are quicker than Rob Bodston Racing and Tropical Rocket. But Team Clapham North down in P7. Really good pace from Abby early on.
Who started 24th.
Wow.
We are 12 and a half minutes into the race, and Abby Eaton's gone from 24th to 7th. We've had the spin for the 158 car I've just seen out of the window. That's the G-Force car of Graham Winstone. He rejoins from that spin undamaged. But what a stint for Abby Eaton. Now, I sort of caveated her leading laps at Snetterton with the fact that she'd started near the front anyway, but she's proving right now how she was able to battle for the lead in that opening stint. She is rapid. We've always known that about Abby, and she's taking to Fun Cup racing pretty well.
She is. It was the same at Alton Park at the start of the season, wasn't it? They were leading the race there as well. So Abby again, well, I mean, like we say, another name on the grid where you go, yeah, we kind of expect you to be at the front, Abby. But yeah, taking to a Fun Cup car, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do, and new machinery to get grips with. But Abby's done it pretty quickly, hasn't she? And really dragging that team to the fore, as we saw there, new fastest lap, and might just be onto the back of the train of leaders. Well, it is, as we see them come out the final corner. Now looking up the inside into T1 on Axiometrics. Sliding on the rear end there for Axiometrics as they just about both find their way through the first corner, and just about Axiometrics holding on for the moment. But given the pace we've already seen from Abby behind the wheel of the 146 there, surely it's a case of when, not if, that she gets through here on the 103.
Red River Sport are in. Johnny Molan was being shown the black and orange flag. So Johnny Molan with a mechanical issue that he may or may not be aware of, but race control certainly are, and that car's being sent straight into the garage. Now, I couldn't see anything out of the window that was obvious. I didn't see any fluid coming from the car, any bits hanging off it, but there's something that race control aren't happy about, likely reported by the marshals around the circuit, and so Johnny Molan unfortunately brings the 200 car into pit lane. It's an awful lot that's happened in the first 15 minutes here, John.
Well, at least Johnny Molan can jump in his other car, can't he? That one might be on for a good result, so we'll wait and see. But either way, yeah, a real shame already into the pit very early on in this one. Like we say, can't see anything from the box, but much smarter people than us are out watching over and making sure all those decisions correct. So into the pits early, a shame. But we look back to this squabble then for P6. Well, Axiometrics were right on the back of the likes of Race Logic and GCI only a few moments ago, but they've dropped off and now into the clutches of Clapham North. A few seconds now between V-Box, the V-Box team, and Axiometrics, and wide again at the final corner for Chris. Loses the position then as Abby gets a lovely exit up into P6 she goes. But I will say, that Axiometrics is looking very slidey. At one point, they were right on the wheel tracks. Oh no, another driver in. This time it's Greenheath who are into the pits. I didn't quite spot a flag for them though as they pit in. An issue already for Greenheath. Is it a flat front left? If I can get my words out, that's what it looks like, isn't it, Andy?
Well, they're changing the front left. Certainly, we're seeing this out of the commentary box window, but. Is it flat? Can't tell. Jamie is hovering nearby. Jamie, we can see you. Get closer. Go find out what's going on for us. There we go.
Well, you saw Paul Turner there press the tyre. Clearly it was inflated because he put his hands up and went, what are you doing? Why are we here? So there's clearly some confusion as to maybe what the issue is. Either way, they've changed that front left. Back out they go. So Greenheath already, luckily for them, they've of course not lost a lap. That's the main thing. They're back out on circuit, still on the lead lap of the race, which is very positive. But an odd one there. We'll have to find out more. As you say, Jamie is already straight down there. Good to see.
Jamie's on it. That's good news. But I wonder whether they had a knock somewhere in that opening lap skirmish. Could have knocked the tracking out. That could feel sometimes, couldn't it? Like there's a tyre going down or there's an issue with the left front corner. But anyway, they've sent him back on his way and still on the lead lap, crucially. It was a very quick pit lane visit, which is good news. It was leaking coolant, by the way, for Red River Sport. Jamie's reported back to me, so we couldn't see it out of the window, but there was coolant being leaked, and that's why race control summoned them in. Right, got to remember to breathe in this, haven't we? Fourth place battle here, GCI Racing versus Race Logic, John.
Indeed, yeah, we continue to press on then, as we said. Surprise! Axiometrics were right involved in this squabble between these two. They've dropped well off the back now, a good 5 seconds off the back. Wasn't sure if maybe Axiometrics were finding struggles as well, because already Clapham North clearing off in now 6th place, that is. And really, actually, it's the track focus car, the 49, he's closing up to the back now of Axiometrics as well as V-Box. Of course, the Race Logic car looking up the inside into Rocket, not able to find it this time. GCI hold on to 4th place. But my query with Axiometrics is, are they nursing an issue as well? Because they've been very slidey at different points, particularly say down at quarter 1, really struggling to get that car turned in. The rear just seems to want to come round on them. So whether they're nursing an issue or maybe Chris Weatherall has just lit up the rears too early on and is already losing a bit of adhesion. Either way, we wait and see. For the moment, they drop down to P7, and Abby Eaton continues to close up to this group for 4th and 5th.
In fairness, John, they're not the only ones, though. I spotted a few drivers running wide out of the final corner, not having a lot of grip up at Rocket. I wonder if this is the wind that's starting to take effect. I spoke to a few drivers this morning, and I think yourself included, that said that the wind was quite a big deal here. We're so exposed to the wind, hanging off the edge of a cliff, essentially, overlooking the Irish Sea. So it's always quite windy. It is windy today, and if that wind catches you or there's a strong gust, it changes direction unexpectedly. You know, these cars are not heavy, are they? So they can be affected by that.
Indeed. No, they very, very much can. Like you say, it's a good point. Potentially, those bit of slides that I've seen, just a slight change of wind and that catching some of the drivers out. So maybe that's just why Chris has lost a bit of time, but like we say, he's a very experienced pedlar, isn't he, behind the wheel of a Fun Cup car? Surely Chris will settle back in and try and catch back up to Abby behind the wheel of the 146. But like I say, Track Focus closing in, not that far then back to the bottom end of the top 10 with Sheridage UK and LeadTech, so keeping an eye on them as well. We look back to Seed Data. This is now leading this next train a little bit further down the order for these drivers. So this is about 20th place then. Seed Data with the FNS Morpheus Motorsport car, the JPR for Hire and the Fueled Up Racing car as well, coming back after earlier issues. And that JPR for Hire car, as you mentioned at the start of the stream as well, the only one potentially on for this £10,000. At the moment, down in, 22nd place. So the potential is there, but as we've seen so many times across the Fun Cup field, getting yourself on a podium is easier said than done, let alone in your first ever race.
Yes, and neither of them are massively experienced in Fun Cup. Avery Baker's done some historic racing, I believe. I think I'm right in saying Toby Hall is pretty new to it all. So they're learning, and they'd love to take home some money at the end of the day, but I think they're more interested in just honing their craft and learning as the day goes on. Up towards the banking then comes this battle for 9th position. LeadTech, Sunoco Racing, Sheridage UK with Peter Belshaw, and the 249 car. It's the 249 car which I think is the one to watch, isn't it? Which is very much starting to reel this group in, and indeed has reeled this group in, and I think they're about to start making some moves. So the LeadTech car at the front of the group, but it's the red and yellow car at the back of this little quartet that is the fastest, and I suspect we're going to see some more moves fairly shortly for Jason Minshaw.
This is all changed ahead as well. We've just seen Abby Eaton. I think she's got both of them. She has.
Wow.
Fantastic from Abby Eaton. Well, I saw her look up the inside of the Race Logic car up into Rocket, but seemingly she's got them past both Race Logic and GCI. Amazing moves, and Abby's up into 4th place. So Clapham North continuing to press on through. I saw as well up at Rocket, Track Focus getting the move done on Axiometric. So quite a few moves happening earlier on in this lap. Plenty of reshuffling. And an interesting point there that you mentioned, that the Demon Tweaks being the fastest of that train of 4, despite them having basically no front splitter left. I think when I saw them a few moments ago, that front splitter was destroyed. So despite that, Mr. Minshaw pressing on, looking to make up a few more places.
Speaking of no front splitter, an update on GRD, championship leaders. They're missing a splitter, remember, after the spin they had earlier on. They're up to 24th position now, but they're about 3.5 to 4 seconds a lap slower than the leader. They are, I'm going to guess, somewhere around 50 seconds off the lead. It is only a minute and 18 laps, so 78-second lap. They are perilously close, I fear, to going a lap down. Now, okay, we're 9 minutes away from a pit window. They will throw in Simon Rudd for the next stint, and the pace should improve slightly, but that is still concerning as Race Logic have a go at GCI here, almost leaning on each other through Rocket. GCI just about hang on to 5th position.
Greenheath are in again.
Yes, now more on the Greenheath story, by the way. So Jamie reported it wasn't a puncture, they were slipping on the coolant that had been dropped by the Red River Sport car, and it felt like a puncture. However, they're back in again, so does that mean there's actually a bigger issue? No, they've sent him straight back on. They refused to service the car that time. They're desperately trying to get the message through to Gary Bate. There's nothing wrong, it's just a slippery surface. That time though, it's cost him a lap.
Yeah, I was going to say they've dropped a lap down, haven't they now? So that's massive for Greenheath. That is huge for the rest of this race. What a shame for them. Clearly some miscommunication going on there in the Greenheath camp. As we saw there, pulling straight back into the pits was Gary, and like you said, they wouldn't even have a look at the car. They send him straight back out. No, you're not stopping. Off you go. Clearly something's going on down the Greenheath there. A shame. Every single race I go and chat to them, I say, is the win on today? They always go, the win's always on.
So it's
sadly,
your fault,
yeah, it's gone already. Yeah, basically, yeah, it's my fault. Well, thankfully for them, they got 2 races today, so even if it's all gone haywire in this first one, they got another one to crack on with at the end of the day. But yeah, a real shame for Greenheath. They're always there and thereabouts, with that win still elusive.
Well, I fear that for similar reasons, I'm now on the Simon Rudd hit list, because I did have a similar conversation with him this morning about how they'd won both races, they were the team to beat, everything was going to plan, and he wasn't best pleased with the fact that I kept teeing them up for disaster in his eyes. That car comes across the line as here the Demon Tweaks car of Jack Minshaw, Jason Minshaw, excuse me, does make a move then at the expense of the Sherrod Dyes car. Another car was very wide behind them, but Jason Minshaw, again, among the fastest cars on track at the moment, and his next target will be the Leatech car for a position inside the top 10.
I've been really impressed by Demon Tweak so far this season. They had a really good season last year, but they've just taken another extra couple of steps for this year, and they are getting really stuck in now with the leading group of cars. So I've been really impressed with them this season, and as you say, Jason doing a cracking job so far in this race, getting the position done. Then past Sherrod UK they go, and they're in that nice position now near the sharp end where it's not that far ahead to the next group, so he's got something to focus on to continue to press on and look to gain a few more places. We look back ahead again, looks as though the Race Logic car, yes, has now been overtaken by Track Focus. So again, we've not really spoken too much about the 49 in this race so far. They've been quietly pressing on through, but their pace has been epic. They now get past Race Logic. They're into the top 6.
They're a hugely experienced duo, are Sean Cooper and Mike McCollum. They've been racing in Fun Cup on and off for about as long as I've been involved in it, so a decade or more. They have always been front runners, and they are maybe giving it a more concerted go this year. They tend to drop in and out for a couple of rounds. They're always quick. They haven't always had the best reliability, but they are always pace setters, and so good to see them on the charge. They're putting a lap here on the 158 car, which is the car that had the spin at the corkscrew earlier on, the G-Force car of both the G's, Gary Summers and Graham Winstone, or Graham Winstone as he's been written on my entry list in front of me. I suspect that's a typo, but that car a lap down after its early dramas.
Indeed, and we have had quite a lot of early dramas, haven't we, in this one, Andy? I mean, Fun Cup is always an exciting one to commentate over, because you're never thinking, what do I say next? There's always something to talk about, but this race has been ridiculous to kick off, and we haven't even had a safety car. There's just been loads of chaos going on the black stuff, which helps us up here in where the shouty men stand. But either way, lots to contend with. We're not even 30 minutes through this one, and already plenty of stories playing out, and plenty to be keeping our eyes on through the rest of the race. But, like I say, no safety car just yet. Often, we'll sometimes see in a fun car race, if you don't get one in the first 30, you then can go quite a long time without one. Or am I tempting fate? Maybe I am, Andy. We'll wait and see.
You've not learnt your lesson, have you?
I want a safety car, Andy.
Yes, because this has just been so dull for the first 25. We've had nothing to talk about for 25 minutes of racing so far. I suspect we will get a safety car. It's a fairly high probability of safety car. I'll dig out the exact percentage when I dare take my eyes off the screen in a minute or two. But we do tend to get safety cars here at Anglesey. Although traditionally, and this is anecdotal more than fact-based, but this double-header, 2 3-hour races as the 2-on-2 car of Vlad Vasiliev gets very tail-happy up at Rocket. I seem to recall these two races, one of them tends to be quite chaotic, the other one sometimes is a little bit calmer. Now I suspect that might go out the window simply because of the grid size we've got this weekend. It's been known for us to have 10 fewer cars than this racing at Anglesey. We've sometimes struggled to get into the 20s, so the sheer volume of cars we've got will probably mean both races are quite breathless, but historically this maybe is turning into the breathless race, and then the one tonight might be a little calmer. We'll wait and see. We are 26 minutes, maths? Yes, 26 minutes into the race, which means we are 4 minutes away from our opening pit window. Again, if you're new to Fun Cup, there will be 5 pit windows across the 3-hour race, 5 mandatory pit stops, which all have to be served within the 10 minutes that the window is open. You don't have to change driver, and in these shorter 3-hour races, it's more common to see double stints than anywhere else, although I think the plan for most teams is to drive a change each time, and that's when things all start to get shuffled again, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah. Of course, if you do double stint, you do still need to get out of the car when you come in for your pit stop. It used to be a case of you had to get out, then run around to the other side and get back in. Now you can get out the same and get back in the same side, which makes sense, but still is a little bit, I'd say, a little bit slower than changing driver, because while one is getting out, the other can be getting in at the same time. Whereas if it's the same driver, that would be impossible unless you change the laws of physics. So, yeah, still I think is slightly beneficial. But then again, you have the change of, if you're changing driver, the new driver heading out, they're going to be a little bit rusty. No matter their experience, it'll take them a lap or two just to get up to speed. Whereas you would expect the driver who'd already been out for a stint would be getting straight stuck in, and straight back onto the pace. You would assume anyway. But let's wait and see then. I mean, I hadn't even thought about pit windows as. Andy is struggling beside me in the box at the moment.
Sorry about that. I spotted mid-swig of my drink that GRD had been lapped, and I thought that was quite important to let you know. I haven't finished swallowing before I tried to tell you, though, unfortunately. Many apologies. GRD are a lap down, John. How about that?
Oh dear. Well, they've dropped a lap down, as you say then. Well, that's going to make things even more challenging. We'd already seen a couple of our heavy hitters heading a lap down in this race, and where your championship leaders dropping a lap down is big news in this first 3-hour race of the day. We will keep our eye, and there they are. They've dropped now behind second place, the Rob Boston Rare Vinyl car, the 169 there, who are keeping the gap to the race leader about 2 seconds, but I can't believe that. Yeah, the number one, a lap down. No matter how speedy Simon and Riley are behind the wheel, this is going to be a challenging one, and if we do get that safety car, like you mentioned earlier, it's basically race over, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not game over just yet, because as I said, we're only a couple of minutes away from getting Simon running the car. Simon may then be quicker than the cars that have lapped him. They might be able to do something on fuel strategy, maybe, to try and have a shorter pit stop. I had an interesting conversation with Farkini this morning, actually, about the various fuel strategies over these 3-hour races, and you can be a bit more creative with when you put the fuel in, because you don't need as much fuel. Only 2 full tanks should get you throughout the full race. So when do you put that fuel in? How much do you put in each time? And that can have quite a significant effect on pit stop time. So I wonder whether GRD, who are pretty good at this whole pit strategy thing, might be able to gain some time back. They're also among, if not the quickest team at conducting pit stops. I can see Simon Ruddy's ready already down at the end of the pit lane, looking focused with helmet on. So I suspect they are going to bring them in pretty soon. Not this time, but maybe next time we'll get Simon Rudd into the GRD car. But yeah, significant. It's got a lap down. There are Neil Plimmer and Farkini, who have continued the chat they were having behind us in the commentary box to the pit wall, watching on with interest at what's going on out on track. Quite a lot is the answer, boys.
quite a lot indeed. Yes, I was just having a look, because as you were mentioning about the fuel, I remembered I made some notes last year here at Anglesey from my brother, because of course, if you don't know, if you're listening on the live stream, I used to race in the Fun Cup, Team Ratters Racing, with my brother and my dad. And my dad is watching up at the top section of the circuit, so hello, Father, if you can hear me on the tannoy. He gave me the notes because he was the one that always sorted our fuel strategy through the race. Says, I will go back to that in a second. That's less than ideal for Demon Twigs.
Yes, this is the car that had been rocketing up the order. It's the Jason Minshaw car, and it's got damage to the right front corner. That will not be self-inflicted. There will have been contact with someone or something, someone more likely, and that has pulled the bodywork down. Now, that's not the end of the world. They can take the bodywork back up, and we are now in a pit window, so they don't actually have to suffer with this for too long, but hopefully it's not done any further damage to the steering or suspension.
Hopefully not. I had seen that was opening up earlier on in the race, so clearly the wind is continuing to push it further and further from where it should be sitting, so we might see if that continues to get further away, it might get ripped off at some point in this stint. Now this is going to be the decision as to whether Demon Tweaks think it's worth the time changing it over, or whether they just, like you say, put a bit of gaffer tape on and send it back out. I think it's probably going to be the latter, but we shall wait and see. What I was going to highlight with the fuel was that you only need those 2 full churns through a 3-hour race, but that does mean that if there's no safety car across the 3 hours, it will be quite tight on fuel, and you might then see teams trying to fuel save to get to the end of the race, not only to make it to the checkered flag, but also so there's enough weight on board to be within the limits in the rules as well. So only 2 of those 5 stops need to be for fuel, as more things are happening on the screen.
Litec nearly tangling with Axiometrics. I don't think they touched, but they were side by side, and the Litec car, which is in the hands of Shea Brennan, had to sort of jinx sideways to avoid. There's also a battle going up the back straight at the moment between Clapham North and Track Focused. Abby Eaton is battling away with the Track Focused car of Sean Cooper, who is the fastest man on track at the moment. Sean Cooper, he's caught Abby Eaton. That in itself, based on her pace, is pretty impressive, and they're absolutely together heading up towards the hairpin at the top of the circuit. So we need to keep an eye on that battle for 4th place, because Sean Cooper is looking rapid.
Those two have been absolutely motoring, haven't they? Hopefully they don't now hold each other up in battling with each other as those two continue to chase down the leading pack. As I was saying about the fuel, my final point, I promise, the 2 sort of decisions that you've got to go with. What's happening now?
I'm going to interrupt you again because the championship leaders are in, as we suspected would be the game. We will get this fuel point out, I promise you. On the subject of fuel, I don't see any fuel waiting with GRD, so I think, to my point, they're going to try and have the speediest possible pit stop here, get Simon Rudd in, send him on his way. There's no fuel. They are looking at the front of the car, but they're not doing any work to it. There you can see it in the picture-in-picture. They're servicing the number 1 car, and this has to be a rapid pit stop. Don't be surprised, John, if after this pit cycle that car's back on the lead lap.
Indeed, that's what they're hoping for, isn't it? Getting that fast, speedy stop done, get back onto the lead lap ASAP. As soon as they do that, they don't need to be worried about the safety car. Actually, at that point, if they get back onto the leading lap, they'll be hoping for a safety car, because that will bring them right back up to the back of the pack. But they are in sketchy waters at the moment, are your championship leaders. We'll keep our eyes on them through this first round of pit stops, but indeed no fuel for them on that first stop, and that's really where the decision lies. You could either leave that fueling until late, hoping for a safety car, which is exactly what they're looking to do, or you can wait until late, because then fueling under the safety car would gain you lots of time. So there's sort of 2 different opportunities, avenues to go down in terms of strategy in this one, but again can be blown wide open, because as you say, only 2 of the 5 stops need to have fuel. So lots of opportunity for different strategies in this one, and as we saw there, the strategy being played out from your championship leaders. Can it get them back on the lead lap though? That is the question on everyone's lips.
Well done. You got the point out.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
It only took about 5 laps, but that's the nature of this race, isn't it? It's been breathless from the start till now. We are 33.5 minutes in, and this is the GCI racing car in 6th position, but just ahead of them is that battle for 4th between Clapham North and Track Focus. They're heading down through the corkscrew, I believe. I've lost them out. If I know, they're further around the lap. I'm looking at the wrong bit of the track as we have more cars sweeping in. The Sherrodice car is in. And quite a few cars coming in early. The traffic management is going to be key in this race. Again, more cars than we're used to seeing here at Anglesey, and so sometimes you can time your pit stop to try and avoid dealing with a big knot of traffic that you're catching. So a lot goes into the timing of these stops and making sure you execute them as efficiently as you possibly can. Uvio Hoffman's Motorsport lead the way by 2.4 seconds. That gap fairly static between them and their pursuers, Rob Boston Racing with Rare Vinyl. It's then about another 8 seconds or so back to Tropical Rocket Racing in 3rd, who themselves have pulled a gap now over Clapham North and Track Focused, who of course started significantly further behind them on the grid. They make their way down through the final sequence of corners. Now the leaders, John, I don't anticipate in any time soon. We're seeing those, I think, really who find themselves out of position at this stage, just trying to do something different.
Yeah, exactly that. Just trying to buck the trend, as you would say, and try and do something different to the teams up near the sharp end, and maybe that'll work out for them. We'll wait and see. But as you would expect, the usual strategy being the one of leaving it as late in the window as possible, and if there's a safety car, you can make up loads of time for doing the pit stop near the end. That's usually what we see from teams where the drivers are pretty level in terms of pace across the team. You'll see that that playing out with them going as long as they can into the window. But the likes of Olympian GRD, as we saw there, Chris, I always feel bad speaking about it because Chris is very fast in his own right, but he's drafted in two drivers who are mightily quick, so understandably so. They get him out the car early in the window just to maximise the time with Simon and Riley behind the wheel, particularly with what's played out in this race as well. That is their usual strategy, but even more poignant for today.
Oh, GCI with a close moment there with the 207 Demon Tweaks car. GCI have pitted then, haven't they? Yes, they pitted earlier than some others. We had... there was a stop-go penalty for Greenheath. So, so the first pit stop they didn't need to make because they didn't have a puncture when they thought they did. Then, when they were in serving the puncture that wasn't a puncture, they sped in the pit lane and got a stop-go penalty, which is why they've been in 3 times already, because they have now, I believe, served their first mandatory pit stop, but that's a comedy of errors, isn't it? And a real snowball effect that, unfortunately, have knocked them now off the lead lap. Thank you, Jamie, for the update down in the pit lane. We will hear from Jamie at some point today, if we ever have a quieter moment to throw down to him. Maybe at the end of the race might be a good time to schedule in a chat with Jamie, the way this is going.
We've got Axiometrics now into the pits as well. So, yeah, a few different strategies in this one. I'm surprised with the amount of teams diving in early on in these stints, comparatively than what we would usually expect. As you say, then Axiometrics are in to complete their first stop of the race. What a shame there. I mean, it always seems to be Greenheath that kind of stuff happens to, doesn't it? It always seems to be Greenheath. I'm so sorry to the guys of the 14. This isn't going to be the race where that win finally happens, but we'll wait and see for the 3 hour at the end of the day as well. We look back to Clapham North here, so this is still Clapham North and Track Focused, absolutely nose to tail. I had spotted that as they closed up to each other, both teams losing a little bit of time, both about 0.8 of a second off of their overall fastest laps of the race. Now, they're not really battling, they're not going side by side, but a little bit of pace being lost. Now, is that maybe because Clapham North have no slipstream to work with anymore? Not really sure the reasoning. Either way, they're not quite as quick as they were earlier on in this stint, but we still wait for them to come into the pits for their first stops. For the first time in this race as well, that gap between UVO and Rob Bosson has opened up to over 3 seconds. So UVO finding a little bit more time before they will peel in for their first stop of the race as well.
Indeed so. Fabulous Randaccio with some pretty fabulous pace in this opening stint. 22 is in. That's the Sunoco Racing Team car of Phil Keane. He's had a solid opening stint. Was running as high as 6th there when he came in. Pit stop affected, of course, with others coming in. As we see on the screen, the fight for 4th position. Abby Eaton versus Sean Cooper, 2 people with British GT experience back in the day. Both of them have raced in the GT4 category in British GT over the years. Sean Cooper, in fact, in his own track-focused racing run KTM, I seem to recall, back in the day. Abby in a Maserati, so they both had some slightly quirky cars to compete in back in the day, but they are now enjoying a good battle here in the Fun Cup.
I think you can call these quirky cars as well.
True, this is true, yes. It's more fun that way, isn't it, I think? Everyone's got a McLaren these days, haven't they? Abby Eaton, though, I think acclimatising nicely to the Fun Cup, and she was always a feisty racer. Remember, she came out of the world of one-mate racing in Mazda MX-5s, and sort of feel that this would suit her a little bit, this quite feisty style of racing we have in the Fun Cup. As you've seen, they may be endurance races, but they don't often feel like endurance races. And Abby, I think, is going to have to get her elbows out here, because Sean Cooper does look maybe the quicker of the two. And as John was saying, there's no slipstream here for Abby to use to go any quicker. So if Sean feels that he is faster, it might serve him well to try and get this move made before he comes into the pit lane. Although, actually, that's imminent, because we're right at the end of the 10 minutes now. So we are going to see a real flurry of activity into the pit lane over the next minute or two.
Indeed, we will. Yeah, we've got plenty of people in the box. We've got Mr. Peter Shearer with us in the box as well. He's just pointing out that the driver about to hop in for Tropical Rocket Racing, Josh Phelps, having a little cuddle with his mechanic before they headed out. I think just the final preparations ready for the stint. And the mechanic, as Peter was gesturing, was a little bit bit smaller than him. It was a nice big bear hug for the mechanic, I think, before Josh gets ready to head out on track. Well, his teammate, Neo, has done a great job in this first stint of the race, hasn't he? Really impressive, and that team up in the overall top 3 at the moment, as we see your picture-in-picture. AIRTEC there, getting their stop done as well, I believe that was, as they head back out onto the circuit, and now that pit lane getting a little bit busier as second place pits. Rob Boston Racing are in.
Yes, there was just enough time for the leader to go through before the 10 minutes were up, and you're allowed to do that, but he will have to come in next time by, probably. Second place, though, as you say, is in, the 169. They're right at the pit exit end of the pit lane. We're not seeing it on the screen, but I can tell you there's no fuel going into that car. That seems to be the order of the day, doesn't it, to put the fuel in, as John was saying earlier on, put the fuel in towards the end of the race rather than now. You don't want to lose that track position when everyone's so bunched together, do you?
Exactly that, especially given the fact that there's been no safety car during this first pit window. Leave it for now. The car will more than happily go on towards the next pit stop without any need for more fuel, so drivers will press on. I don't think I've seen any of our teams take any fuel in this pit stop. I don't know about you, Andy, when you've been looking out the window. I don't think any teams have taken fuel in this first round, so we'll have to wait and see. Surely some of them will go for it on pit stop number 2, even if it's just to buck the trend a little bit and try and do something different to get themselves back up into the order. Well, more moves being made here as the 146 goes up the inside of exposure lights. Of course, we've already seen exposure lights into the pits, so I think that's another lap being put on the exposure lights team, but they will gain that back. As I say, they've already pitted, so once these two peel into the pits, they will gain that lap straight back. Then as Demon Tweaks now into the pits as well, the 249 pits from 6th position. As we've got Vape Club, they head back out on circuit as well, so we're almost completed with this first round of pit stops. Then just a few more to head in, and we'll finally see what the order is looking like, and really we'll also see whether whether GRD have got themselves back onto the lead lap.
Yes, that's a good point, actually. We'll keep an eye on that. So in come the leading group then, although not the leader, because they snuck another lap in, remember, Uvio, Hoffman's Motorsport. So as John was saying, they've gone round again, but Tropical Rocket Racing are in, so are Clapham North. No fuel for either of those cars, yeah, it looks as though this is just a standard driver change, which itself can be a slightly complicated procedure, but they are managing to do so well. Right, GLD have just gone across the line. Where are they in relation to the Uvio car? I think they're still behind, aren't they? Looking out of the window, yes, because the Uvio car... Where is the Uvio? Oh, they've not pitted. I've just told you they're not pitted, John, and I'm completely ignoring myself. We'll find out in a lap or so whether they're still on the lead lap, but in fact they're behind the vinyl detail car anyway, so definitely still one lap down, and in fact they've slipped behind Greenheath, interestingly, who, remember, are also one lap down.
Indeed, yeah, of course. When Greenheath came back out after that stop-go, they were right behind Olympian. So now after GRD, my first slip off the day. I can't believe I've done it. GRD it is, of course. And Greenheath, after that stop-go penalty, they came back out just behind, so they slipped back in front ever so slightly over that first round of pit stops. But either way, right there with them, as we say, the two that we're watching to see if they get that lap back, but we watch and wait for Uvio to get that stop done, as there they are, just below us now, in that picture-in-picture in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. They head back out on circuit, and I think they are still going to be well and truly in front, aren't they? Where even are the likes of Greenheath?
Well, there is the Rob
Boston
car,
yes.
And then here from Greenheath, and yes, so we're all seeing this out of the window, not on the screen, but we are commentating to the spectators' trackside as well, in fairness. So the leader back out of the pit lane now, that is Farkini. He's heading down into Church Corner, the third turn on the circuit. Rob Boston Racing are, to the eye, I'm going to say about 5 seconds back, so I'd say that's a slightly bigger gap than it was before that round of pit stops. The next cars in the line are Greenheath and GRD, so they're 10 seconds or so, I'd say, off getting back onto the lead lap, so well worth watching their pace. But Simon Rudd is not yet setting the timing screens alight. His last lap was a 1 minute 20.6. The leaders have been regularly in the low 119, so I have to suspect, John, that is mainly, if not completely, down to the lack of front splitter.
Yeah, 100% is. You're entirely right. Doesn't matter if you're a prime Max Verstappen. If you lose that front splitter, you're going to struggle to get lap times out of a Fun Cup car here at Anglesey. So although Simon Rudd doing his absolute best to reel his way back into some good positions, still finding it tough. Well, he is closing up to the back of the Greenheath car, so he will get a position if he's able to get past the number 14. But as you say, a good 10 or 15 seconds still behind the Uvio car. And as we mentioned already so many times, if if safety car comes out now. Who was that? That was the PLR UVO car getting in all sorts of sideways.
That was Neil Plimmer going wide all over the grass out of Church. Did he lose any front bodywork? Yes, there's no front splitter on that car now. This is the danger here, isn't it? If you go off, this is not a Silverstone where you've got acres of tarmac runoff area. There's quite a lot of runoff area before you hit anything solid, but that grass is bumpy. These cars run so low to the ground, and that front splitter is so vulnerable, isn't it?
Yes. Soon as you go through a compression on that grass, it just destroys the front splitter immediately. So avoid that green stuff, drivers. It's not going to help you. Right then, sounds as though Jamie is ready for the first time today for us to hand down to him in pit lane.
Well, let's hear from him now then, shall we? Jamie, I believe, is poised and ready to go. Jamie, who have you got for us? Well, we'll get that in a moment then. Jamie has vanished again somewhere down in the pit lane, but we will gather him together and whoever his latest victim, interviewee was, and we will hopefully get some stories from the pit lane. I suspect there's quite a lot to unpack from the pit lane after that opening 45 minutes. Whilst we're waiting for him, let's have a rundown of the top 10, shall we? UVO Hoffman's Motorsport lead the way then. Fabulous Randaccio now at the wheel of car 403. That is now officially a 6.9 second gap back to Rob Boston Racing with Rare Vinyl. The 169 car now in the hands of James Riley. Third place still for Tropical Rocket Racing. They're a further 16 seconds back, and the 157 car now driven by Josh Phelps. Then in fourth position, GCI Racing. That will now be Craig Butterworth, who was telling me this morning he really enjoys this place, feels that it suits his driving style, and he's doing well in fourth at the moment. Fifth position then for Team Clapham North. That car now handed over to George Grant, and it will then be Race Logic's number 210 car next. That is David Denyer at the wheel. That's sixth position. Seventh place, number 49, Track Focus. So they've dropped down slightly in that pit cycle. Mike McCullum now behind the wheel. Eighth place for Sherrodize UK, number 251. That is Matt Hyde. Ninth position, Axiometrics, number 103, John Perrott. And the top 10 completed by number 99, Letec. That is Christian Rose. Good to see Christian battling inside the top 10. So now finally we have an opportunity to breathe a little bit and take stock of the situation. The big winners and losers of that opening stint, well, clearly it's going well for UVO. They were quite confident, actually. When I spoke to them this morning, they were very happy that they'd been drawn on the front row. That rarely happens for UVO, it seems, and they were adamant they were going to take advantage of that. They very much have, and the fact that their big championship rivals, everyone's big championship rivals, GRD, are having a bit of a nightmare, this is a golden opportunity, isn't it?
It's worked out quite well, hasn't it, to say the least. UVO, given, as you say, that start on the front row of the grid, courtesy of the random grids that we have in the Fun Cup, but still, that doesn't just gift them the race lead. They had to work for it, they got themselves there, and as we saw through that first round of pit stops as well, they've extended the gap, as Andy said, from about 2 seconds, or I think it was about 3 seconds, wasn't it, when they did end up pitting, now up to over 7 seconds. So actually, I will say, fair play to the Rob Boston crew, because UVO are absolutely electric with those pit stops of getting a driver out and a new driver in. So to have only lost about 3 or 4 seconds in that first round of pit stops to such an experienced team, impressive from the Rob Boston Rare Vinyl crew. Not that they're not experienced in and of themselves as well, but UVO, multiple champions in the past, to be within a couple of seconds of their pit stop is very impressive. And speaking of pit stops, you said we got time to breathe. Given it's a 3-hour race, those pit stops come thick and fast, so we've only got a few more minutes to wait for the next one.
Yes, true, because it can bleed into the next stint, can't it? Because you can go another lap. Sometimes it can be 3 or 4 minutes into the next stint, technically, the final pit stops are made. And so, yeah, we are only 11 and a half minutes away from the next round of pit stops. Good point. And that means that for GRD, well, the plan was to put Chris DeVell back in. I wonder whether they maybe try and do something a bit different here. And again, it's a difficult way. It's difficult to explain this without sounding like we're saying Chris DeVell is slow. He's very, very quick, but by his own admission, Simon and Riley are the quicker drivers. Is it worth changing that? Stick Riley in now, try and get back on the lead lap? Who knows? I mean, Simon Rudd is not lapping as quick as the leaders. Could Riley Phillips go any faster? I'm not so sure, but it might be worth a go.
It might be, yeah, it might be. I'm not sure how they would change it. Potential maybe for even Simon to just double stint, keep him in the rhythm of things, have him go back out, get those 2 stints done and dusted. As now the PLR UVO car comes in. This is not for a pit stop.
That is...
Looks like a drive-through.
That was a drive-through.
Yeah.
What was that all about? Let me see if I can see a message. Well, yes, it was a drive-through, but we don't know why. Perhaps Jamie can find out for us. But a drive-through then for Neil Plimmer. That will drop him back in, still on the lead lap, I believe, but a little bit of ground lost. Where was he running at the time? He was... Thank you, 12th position. So yeah, still well on the lead lap, but another potential front-running team hitting drama.
But again, if there's anywhere to get a drive-through, it's Anglesey. What were you saying about earlier about the short start, finish straight? It's not a very long one to do a drive-through here, so only really a handful of seconds lost there for PLR Uvio. Either way, they head back out on the circuit, and I think only maybe 1 or 2 positions lost because of that as well. So not ideal, but either way, not race ruining, far from it. As we see more drivers making moves down through the first couple of corners out of our commentary box window. Plenty more happening up at Rocket as well. There is the 212 now continuing on around the Vape Club car. Now I meant to mention as well, because of course you were saying that Ted Bradbury did a sort of more of a guest drive in another car. I tried to find out prior to this weekend as to why Vape Club weren't racing, but I didn't get an answer. I know that you were there, weren't you? Do you know why it was that Vape Club weren't out and driving, or have I asked a question which I shouldn't have asked?
No, I think they had mechanical issues of some unknown description.
Gotcha.
Earlier in the weekend, and I think they weren't going to be very competitive with it. So Ted was itching to still race though, and I remember vividly seeing him dashing up and down the back of the garages when the decision was made that they weren't going to be racing, or Vlad wasn't going to be racing, to try and cut a deal with someone. And unsurprisingly, quite a lot of teams were quite keen to have him in their roster, so he very quickly found a new home. That's not really a huge shock because he's absolutely rapid, we know. Ted Bradbury, a real star of the Fun Cup these days, was a popular man at Snetterton.
I'm more surprised it wasn't like, right, I'm doing stint 1 with this team, I'm doing stint 2 with this team, I'm doing stint 3 over here. Yeah, I can imagine a few teams were very eager to have him amongst their folds for that race, but either way, he's back in where he should be for this one, and the team down at Vape Club doing a good job so far.
Change for third, GCI Racing ahead of Tropical Rocket Racing, so the 111 car of Craig Butterworth. He said he goes well here at Snetterton, at Anglesey. He goes well at Snetterton as well, he was telling me. He likes the sort of slower, more technical circuits, and this is certainly one of them. 248 are in, by the way. This is to serve a speeding penalty, a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This is Toby Hall's first ever race in anything, period.
Wow.
JB tells me, and unfortunately he's picked up a drive-through penalty, although it might not have been him that was guilty of speeding in the pit lane, I suppose. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully he kept within speed limits on the way back out onto the track, and he can rejoin the race. Battle here then between Race Logic, Leatech and Track Focused. Race Logic and Leatech have both just got ahead of Track Focused. Mike McCollum struggling a little bit in this stint, whereas the Race Logic car is coming back into this slightly, and it's Christian Rose, remember, in the 99 Leatech car behind. So Christian into 9th place. They've got a sea of traffic in front of them, and this could well be Christian's opportunity to try and get past Race Logic, but he gets balked there slightly by the G-Force car and has to settle back into line.
Indeed, as the 99 then chucks up the inside through the right-hander. Yeah, good to see Gary back out behind the wheel for G-Force as well, and good to have Graham Winton alongside him as well, really properly making it a G-Force team, with one of them being Gary and one of them being Graham. So there you go, the G-Force out there continue on round, and it was nice to have a chat with Gary beforehand as well, and he was saying that here on Thursday doing some testing and of course getting up to speed, still finding pace out there is Gary, and he said he turned up to the circuit and it was raining sideways. He was so nervous to get out there, but actually he said it was the best thing he's ever done, because he did 2 hours in the car in awful conditions, got used to it, properly sliding around underneath him, getting that confidence back as well, and now I said, well, it's going to be dry all day today I think, so you should be flying, and for the moment seems like he's having lots of fun. A few of the leaders just finding their way past him at the moment as they find a bit more time, but the Leatech car looking very feisty in this stint.
Yeah, Christian Rose, remember, is a very handy driver himself. He is a champion in Fun Cup, remember, only a handful of years ago. So Christian Rose, he may well run the championship these days, but he is very handy behind the wheel. He's making his move here against Race Logic up the school straight. He's on the right-hand side of the road. That's the inside for the 2 right-hand kinks, but it's the outside for the braking zone up at Rocket. And I suspect David Denyer will put up a fight here. Christian, though, stands his ground on the outside, goes onto the grass, bounces bounces over the curve, and yes, makes the move stick. Must be a slightly nerve-wracking thing for Christian as the man who runs the championship to go door to door with his customers, but he did so cleanly, manages to take a fairly impressive 8th place.
Yeah, I'd forgotten it was Christian behind the wheel. I'm less surprised now to see him motoring on so well in this stint. Yeah, lovely move there, and again, you see that a lot from drivers. If they make the move round the outside at Rocket, then flowing into the next right-hander, they'll drop a wheel onto the grass just to hook that inside curb, keep themselves on the inside line with the power fully down, and allows them to drag out the corner nicer than the driver on the outside line and gain the place. So great racing there from Christian Roes, and like you say, keeping it nice and clean as well as he battles with the customers. Well, the V-Box team, Race Logic, were under pressure there. They've had the move made by AIRTEC. They're through into 8th, and now it's the Track Focus car right onto their rear bumper. Of course, they have the fastest lap from earlier on in the race. Of course, that was the other driver behind the wheel of the 49, but either way, still looking very speedy and might just relegate Race Logic down to the bottom end of the top 10 now if they can find their way through. But Christian Roes behind the wheel of the AIRTEC car now has a few seconds to make up to try and put some pressure onto Axiometrics. But as we look further forward, here's the battle over 5th place. This is Clapham North and Sherrodice UK nose to tail, as Abby has now given control over to George. As George under pressure, Sherrodice up the inside, up into P5 they go.
That's Matt Hyde then in the Sherrodice UK car, nipping up the inside, and absolutely right, claiming 5th position heading into Peel. So through goes the 251 car, and George Grant could do worse now than just settling into the wheel tracks of that car, trying to work with them. However, Axiometrics are also catching them. The 103 car, which is now being driven by John Perrott, the orange and black car there at the top of shot, is also battling these two for position. And in fact, Christian Roes is the next car behind them, and he's arguably the fastest of this bunch. So there's some good battling to be had, I think, over the next few laps in this group. The Axiometrics car ranging up behind the beautifully liveried Clapham North car, I have to say. They've done a really good job with the wrap on that car, and George Grant getting quicker every time he gets into the car. Abby Eaton, as we've already waxed lyrical about, is very quick in that car too, and he's about to find himself under some more pressure here, George Grant, with John Perrott almost within striking range. In fact, he's within slipstreaming range just about, heading towards Rocket.
Indeed, as you say, Christian Roes the fastest of the second half of the top 10 at the moment, so he's closing in on these drivers. As up the inside goes Axiometrics into Rocket, the 103 makes the move now, and through past Clapham North they go. So back into the top 6 then for Axiometrics, and as we say, AIRTEC quickly closing in as well, and they are dragging along Track Focused and Race Logic for the party as well. So I think we might see within sort of 3 or 4 laps that Clapham North car slipping out of the top 10. But as we say, as long as George can settle into this stint, find some good pace here, ready to hand back over to Abby, they should stick within the shout here of this scrap for the bottom end of the top 10. And as we said earlier, I mean, it's not very long until that next pit stop, is it? Only a few minutes until we head into that one. They come very quickly here in these 3-hour races at Anglesey. It just adds more excitement for us to enjoy. But like I said, Christian Roes behind the wheel of the 99, fastest of that second half, and he is really dragging that team up to some pretty impressive lofty heights.
Simon Rudd update, by the way. GRD are up to 22nd place now, and were quicker than the leaders last time. A 19.5 for Simon Rudd. That's a genuinely quick lap time. So you always see this, don't you, with drivers. If they're racing with a bit of damage or an issue with the car, they sort of learn to drive around it a little bit, and as the stint has gone on, Simon has become more and more competitive. We're sort of talking about this race like it's a complete disaster for GRD, and by their high standards it is, but actually on a short lap, if we don't get many safety cars, lots of cars will go a lap down. They could still end up in the top 10 by the end of this race, couldn't they? So as long as they can score some points, they can use this, they hope, as a dropped score. It might not be quite as doom and gloom as we thought. It's not a win, which is what they expect of themselves these days, but they could still salvage something decent. Exactly. I think the fact that they expect to come into a race where they know they're starting last and they still expect for a potential victory just shows that their expectations for themselves are rather high, but that's backed up by their impressive performances not only from this season but from previous seasons as well. Of course, back-to-back champions. You don't often say that in the Fun Cup, and that's exactly what GRD have done. Of course, looking for it again this season, leading the championship heading into rounds 3 and 4 here at Anglesey, but this could just throw the cat amongst the pigeons with this slightly off-colour result for team number 1. But like we say, again,
quite a nice time to do it really here at round number 3 at Anglesey, because they've not got the long wait then on to the next round. Usually, if something goes wrong, they've got to wait usually really a whole month to do anything about it. And they've got to stifle in that frustration of their performance. But here today, they can put it all behind them. Only a few hours later, they get the chance to go out and do it all again. And also, for the first time this season, they won't be starting in last if they can't win this race. So they'll actually get a random grid draw. They'll start a little bit further up, and there's even more opportunity for them to get another win to their name across the season. As Andy mentioned, can use this one, they'll be hoping anyway, as one of their drop scores for the season. There's more moves being made. Again, I'm being caught out by this UVO car. That is not the UVO car. That is the PLR UVO car there in the 225, getting past the 207. That's the Demon Tweaks 2 car. That is the red Demon Tweaks car, who is slightly further ahead at the moment. They were in 13th place. They have now had that stolen away by PLR UVO. So into 13th go PLR UVO. Demon Tweaks now in 14th. And Team Viking Ursus Capital Racing with them as well. They're in P15. So these drivers all very close together. And only a few seconds ahead then to Vape Club with Morpheus Motorsport as well. They're in P12. As we now tick on and in to our second pit window of the race. We said they would come thick and fast here in a 3-hour Fun Cup endurance race, and they are. We're already into the second one of 5 across this 3-hour endurance race. So 10 minutes, once again, pit window is open. Now we saw a few teams in that first round of pit stops coming in quite early. I expect we won't see that quite as much here in the second round, but I can already see a few drivers getting ready to go down in pit lane, a few already suited and booted, getting ready to jump into the cars, as these two continue to do battle. Well, we saw PLR UVO gain the place here on the previous lap. Well, Demon Tweaks, the Mintshaws, looking to fight back, not able to get the inside line this time up into Rocket. They'll have to rethink that one, and as we say, they've got Viking and Ursus Capital Racing right there in their wheel tracks as well. Little lock up there for PLR, but for the moment they continue to hold their place after they gained it, as I say, only a lap or so ago. But Team Viking and Ursus Capital, also a very impressive outfit. Of course, it took a couple of seasons away over the last couple of years to focus on their racing out in Europe, also in Fun Cup cars, but over on the mainland there in Europe. And they were very impressive as well. But they mentioned when I saw them back at Alton Park at the start of the season that they missed the Fun Cup UK paddock. They missed the camaraderie of the paddock and everyone getting stuck in, everyone wanting each other to have the best possible time here. And that is what it all comes back to. Fun Cup is just such a lovely and welcoming paddock. But when the helmets go on and the visors go down, it is every man and woman for themselves out there on circuit. Sadly, there looks to possibly be an issue with one of the drivers. The 109 going a little bit slowly there out of the final corner. Is that an issue or just a driver trying to find a little bit more pace? It's the FNS Morpheus Motorsport car. They've just dropped down into 22nd place. 1 minute 26 on the last lap, so about 6 or 7 seconds off of the pace at the moment. We'll keep an eye on them to see whether they drop down the order. Don't give me that look, Mr. McEwen.
Those numbers do come up a lot, don't they? I've noticed. I've had a few slip-ups.
Peter said exactly the same to me earlier. I nearly did it to him, but I realised he probably won't know what I'm on about, so I left it. But
what are you trying to say?
I tried to avoid it today, but I've already made it. I've already done it.
In come Track Focus, moving swiftly on, and Track Focus then for their pit stop. This is going to be a fuel stop for the 49 car. Mike McCollum is going to be jumping out, Sean Cooper getting back in, and we've got George Grant in for Clapham North as well. George Grant getting out and dragged out fairly robustly by a Clapham North team member, and fuel going in. It looks like they're having a bit of trouble getting that fuel churn synced up. Now it's in, but that was a slightly slow stop, I'd say, for Clapham North. And I have to say, the Track Focus car's been in for a long time as well. Neither of these are particularly rapid stops for these two cars. So a little bit of drama in the pit lane and nearly a bit of drama there for the 212 Vape Club car as it got blocked by the Signature RV machine as it came out of its pit bay. So second round of pit stops well and truly underway, and yeah, they're struggling to get the Clapham North car going, aren't they? So the Clapham North car then does now get a push start, but Abby Eaton's second stint of the race doesn't get off to the best of starts with a definite delay there. That was a long time spent in the pit lane. So they make their way around the banking. out the window, I've just spotted Greenheath and GRD bump drafting quite aggressively up the back straight. Those two have been working together ever since the beginning of this stint to try and get themselves back onto the lead lap, but not really happening yet. I'm intrigued to see what happens actually with GRD's strategy here, whether they decide they're going to try and mix things up with their driver lineup, or whether they are going to stick to Christopher getting in next time. We'll find out at the end of the pit window, I suspect, when they come in. There is Abby Eaton in the Clapham North car with Tropical Rocket racing behind her. Of course, Tropical Rocket haven't pitted yet. They're in 4th position, owing us a pit stop in the 157 car. And that will be for Neo Clark. No, it won't. It will be for Josh Phelps to stay in, actually. As I said, off has gone the Viking car. This is up at the banking, ? Yes, it was. And the 170 car in the hands of Colin Kingsnorth has been off the track. No damage done, though, thankfully. Count yourself quite lucky, actually, if you go off here, as we've seen today, and don't sustain any damage. So that was a lucky escape in a way, but did they jump or were they pushed is the question. Was there contact, or did they just slip off the track by themselves? And if there was contact, has the other car sustained damage? You can see the damage to the front of the Demon Tweaks car. Now, one car we did see have a little excursion in the first part of the race was Paul Ellis Smith's machine, and he is down in the pit lane now, ready to answer for himself, I believe, with Jamie Peters-Ennis.
I am Andy. Yes. First of all, welcome back. We've missed you and Wendy. First of all, what happened on the first lap?
Oh, well, I don't like to be in the front for too long, Jamie, so I just thought I'd let everybody else have a chance this time, first time back. Just pulled over, let them past.
How have you found being back? Because last time you were here, we were on a different tyre. I mean, how have you found the Hancocks?
Oh, they're amazing. They sort of they let you slide a bit more, but they don't snap as much. I think they're really a good solid tyre for this racing.
And Wendy's out now. Fabulous to see her back behind the wheel.
Yeah, Wendy put 8 laps in yesterday, and she was still faster than the rest of us, so we've got some work to do.
And plan for are you going to come back and do some more, or is it just a one-off at the moment?
It's a one-off for the minute, and you never know, maybe next season, the season after, when we... if anybody wants to sponsor us.
All right, well, it's great to have you, Victor, and Wendy back, so good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Take it easy.
Thank you, mate. That's at Paul Ellis Smith. Right, let's have a pop down and have a chat with, if I can find him, Toby Hall, because Toby is in his... here he is. Let's have a quick word with Toby. Because, ladies and gents, this man has just completed his first stint in anything. Congratulations. How did you find that?
Well, it was all good until my pit limiter has broken. So I got a penalty, a stop and go, and I didn't know what the stop and go was for. So I came in and served my stop and go, and then sped again because my pit limiter's broken. Now we found out the pit limiter's broken. We're going to go back to a gear and rev. So yeah, no, it's going all right. It's just keeping my nose clean, and yeah, it's busy and very competitive. So yeah.
And you got Avery Baker with you. I mean, he's raced a lot of historic cars sort of around Goodwood. The similarity of rear wheel drive, and that's where it ends. Has he managed to sort of give you any hints and tips? Because these are probably moving around just like his old Cooper Climax.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a real momentum game, isn't it? And he sort of the little bit of racing I've done is in, well, not racing, but track days, is in Caterhams with a bit more power. And you can sort of, the power can get you out of trouble. And he's sort of saying it's all about momentum and carrying speed, because as soon as you start scrubbing speed in these things, you soon lose time. So yeah, no, he's been helpful, but it's a real learning thing for me. So yeah.
And the great thing is you get to do it all again later.
Yeah, it's brilliant. The amount of track time you get is phenomenal. So yeah. Really good.
All right, well, welcome to the party, and go and get yourself some water before you get to go out again. Thanks, Toby. That's Toby Hall from the 248 JPR for hire car. But for now, it's back to Andy McKeown, and welcome back to John Ratcliffe. We've missed you, mate.
Yes, he is back, actually. There you go, John. Jamie's been missing you. Someone had to. I jest, of
Thanks,
course.
Mate.
I jest.
Appreciate it.
No, we do. You're an invaluable source of Fun Cup knowledge, actually, because you, unlike me, have actually raced these things, and you keep telling me how much fun it is to get out there and drive on. In fact, Jamie's the only member of our commentary team who hasn't... I'm the only member of our commentary team who haven't driven a Fun Cup car. Jamie has, as he's mentioned once or twice over the years. Maybe I should get out there. They do look like good fun, I've got to say.
You need to, at some point, mate. They are great. But I mean... I don't know if I'm the one to go to in terms of driver knowledge. I led a race once and then I chucked it in the gravel. So
well, I wasn't going to mention that. You brought that up yourself, John. I was just going to mention the leading.
I mean, every time I come back to the Fun Cup paddock, I get stick for it, so I best bring it up myself, hadn't I? But there we go. No one has taken to the skies yet in this race, so that's definitely one positive to look to in this one. But as we say, coming to the end now, almost of the second pit window of the race then. And again in this stint, despite having two different drivers behind the wheel, that gap that we saw out of the pits between our top two has stayed pretty much the same again. So despite having the different drivers in, like I say, very similar on pace. So interested to see when the drivers hop back in or different drivers shift around again for this next stint. Do we see that gap change once more? But then looking back to third place, the gap to Tropical Rocket now over 30 seconds. A huge gap has opened up, a chasm at the sharp end. And like you mentioned, it will probably only be 2 or 3 pit stops until we start to see a lot of the field going a lap down.
It's not uncommon to only have 3 or 4 cars left on the lead lap by the end of these races. Now again, that's when we've had a smaller grid, so this might not be quite the same. But to the point I was making about that, GRD are now into the top 10, they're 9th position. So yes, they're a lap down. I assume they're still a lap down. Actually, we haven't checked that since the most recent round of pit stops. But if they're not a lap down, they're near enough a lap down, and yet they're still running inside the top 10. A quick check out of the window tells me that yes, they are still a lap down. The leader is halfway up the school straight, and GRD are heading into Church Corner. So we've got fewer than 10 cars on the lead lap already, John, and that sort of proves the point as to how dominant the UVO car is. They and the Rob Boston car very much the class of the field at the moment.
Seems as though Greenheath trying to give a helping hand though as they push them up the back straight. So very much NASCAR strategy, that isn't it? Up towards Rocket once more. The push from Greenheath. Now usually the only worry about that is sitting so close to another car can often make your car then overheat. But given the wind today, given that the air temp's not that high, not so much for Greenheath to worry about. They can push GRD up the straight. I nearly said the wrong name again. Nearly pushed GRG up the straight, giving them a good helping hand, but it's still not really helping each of them out enough, as much as they need it to bring this race back into their hands. We'll wait and see as it plays out, as now once again second place pitting before first. Rob Boston into the pits for their second stop of the race, and interesting to see, of course, first round of pit stops, they lost about 3, 4, 5 seconds in the first round. Let's see if that's the same again here in this second round. Do they lose more? Do they lose less? Let's wait and see.
Yes, so actually I was saying GRD are still a lap down. Of course, they haven't pitted yet, have they? Nor of the leaders, so we'll see what they do in their next pit stop. Could be quite interesting. Back into the race are about to go what was the second placed car, the Rob Boston car.
It is also Riley that's getting in.
Oh, it is?
I can see him. I can see him. He's waiting down in pit lane, so they have switched around the strategy. I thought maybe they double stint Simon, but no, they've gone with Riley for stint number 3. As you say, Simon, I mean, he was finding some good pace, but consistent pace tough to find. We think that's probably to do with the splitter, but they're hedging their bets. Let's see what Riley can do behind the wheel.
Yeah, so they'll be in this time, and good spot that, John, that Riley is getting into the car. So there is the Tropical Rocket Racing car. This has been a fairly lengthy pit stop, I would wager. They've been in for a little while. Driver change and fuel. Most teams putting fuel in at this round of pit stops, and a couple of double fueled, I've noticed. Leaders are in now as well. The leader is just coming into the pit lane. You'll see it in the picture-in-picture. Just behind the Tropical Rocket Racing car is going to be the 403 UVO Hoffman's Motorsport machine. They're pitting out of our sight, I think. Oh, in fact, there they are, and there is one churn of fuel at least going in. Out gets Farkini, in will get Fabulous, and it is going to be a full churn of fuel. We've also got the Simon Rudd driven GRD car in. Are they going to take fuel? They are not. So this is the strategy then. Get Riley Phillips in at a quick pit stop. If they get out in front of the UVO car here, they've got themselves back on the lead lap. UVO are about to go. It's going to be very touch and go, but just about by a length or so. GRD beat the UVO car out, and they're back on the lead lap. I know that wasn't for position, but that could be hugely, hugely significant.
That is huge, isn't it? Absolutely massive there for Team GRD to get Riley out ahead of UVO, and they have done it. Well, the only job now for Riley is, obviously to find as much pace as possible, but also to keep UVO behind. Weirdly enough for them, they've got a UVO in front of them and a UVO behind them now, which is that's going to be something seen in Riley Phillips' nightmares, isn't it? That double UVO. Well, there you go. Thankfully for him, he's got the Team Viking Ursa's capital car, at least between one of them and himself. But like like we say, of course, in a lot of racing, you'll see when a car is a lap down or is about to go a lap down, you'll see a blue flag come out to tell them, move out the way, the race leader's coming through. We don't have those in Fun Cup. Riley is more than allowed to defend, and I think if UVO find pace here to try and get past Olympian, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to be defending like they're trying to hold on to the lead of the race here, just to keep UVO behind so that they stay on that lead lap, and they are more than entitled to do that within the rules. Now that could also affect how this race plays out. If they start defending on UVO, potential that Rob Boston rear vinyl car could close back up again.
Yes, actually, we need to get a read on that gap, don't we? We'll find out momentarily, because here comes the leader then out of the final corner. The leader is not GRD, it is the third car in this queue. The second of the UVO cars leads the race, and it's a sizable gap back to the Rob Boston car, which is only now coming out of the final corner. It's more than 7 or 8 seconds, I would say. It is... Oh, come on. Timing screen, 13 seconds, the gap between the two of them, so 13 or 12.9 seconds, so that is again a gain in the pits for UVO. So, ahead on the road is the GRD car. The problem is, though, John, I don't think they're going to get away from UVO, because we know that those two cars are normally quite evenly matched, and UVO have got a slipstream, and we know at the next round of pit stops they're going to have to put fuel in the GRD car, which is about to go a lap down anyway, as Fabulous Randaccio goes to the inside of Riley Phillips. So, okay, short-term gain, they're back in and around being on the lead lap, but they're going to have a longer pit stop next time, whereas we know that UVO might now have the fuel, if not to get right to the end, to certainly only need a splash of fuel maybe at a later pit stop. So I do still think this is unlikely for that number one car to end up back on the lead lap long term.
I agree. I'm surprised that Riley wasn't a bit more aggressive in his defence there up into Rocket, but clearly, well, I mean, Riley is a much faster driver than me. Clearly, he knows more than I in the position he's sitting in at the moment, not being too worried and UVO being the ones to lead, because, of course, there's also the benefit in the fact of he knows that UVO will be a fast car and it doesn't have a destroyed front splitter, so there might be some use in sitting behind and using the slipstream as well. But like we say, it only takes safety car to come out and it totally ruins their race. So let's see how this one plays out. Interesting to keep an eye on as those two behind continue to battle as well. That, I think, is still for position, is it not? As I try and look further down, it is. So PLR, UVO and Team Viking versus Capital, they are battling over 15th place just behind as well. Of course, those drivers a lap down also. So yeah, plenty to shape itself out through the rest of this one. Plenty of talking points, but for once in a Fun Cup race, I don't really know what's about to happen. I can't really work out how this race is going to sort itself out.
No, I'm with you. What I can tell you has happened is Sheridies are into a podium place now, so I think there's been a bit of alternate fuel strategies going on there. There's been a much bigger movement up and down the order for a few teams in that round of pit stops than the previous one. So I think some of the leading cars have taken fuel and some of those toward the back of the top 10 perhaps haven't. So Sheridies have leapfrogged up into third. Tech up to fourth. They were about 8th at the start of the pit stop cycle. Tropical Rocket, though, who I know did take fuel, they've dropped down to 5th. Signature RV, meanwhile, have just set the fastest lap of the race, which probably means that it's Marcus Clutton in the car. It does mean that it's Marcus Clutton in the car, and the British GT race winner and hugely experienced and successful Fun Cup racer is setting really quick times, and that car is still in the mix here for a good result. They're in 6th position at the moment ahead of Vape Club. That car, remember, which has just been driven by Vlad Vasiliev for the first two stints, now has Ted Bradbury in, and he will double stint at the end, Ted. So that car is going to start flying in 7th position. Track Focused are still in the top 10 there, 8th position, ahead of Red River Sports number 257 car, and the Clapham North car, back in the hands of Abby Eaton, has been making good progress and is back now into the top 10.
Well, we're singing the praises of the pace of Signature RV, but they've just got themselves a 10-second stop-go penalty for an unsafe release from that pit stop. So, although they're very speedy out there on circuit, they're going to be losing quite a lot of that time and probably a bit more, having to come back in again for a penalty. So a shame there. Unsafe release in the pit lane. Of course, teams wanting to get the drivers in and out and back out on circuit as quickly as possible, but you've got to make sure it is a safe release back into the line of traffic down the pit lane, and clearly that didn't happen for the 557. I think the same penalty coming through for the 103 as well. They are slightly further down the order, the Axiometric, so they're down in 21st place at the moment. Last time we saw them out on circuit, they were in, 6th? So have they maybe already served that stop go and that's why they dropped further down, or have more issues occurred and now they're going to drop even further down courtesy of that penalty? Which one is it,
They
Andy?
haven't served the penalty.
Wow.
They've only been in twice, so they've had a drama somewhere, Axiometrics, that either we've missed or has happened out of our sight. But yeah, Axiometrics have really lost a lot of ground. That's why I had a puzzled look on my face. I'd seen they were 21st, and that didn't seem right. 248, by the way, have also had another speed limit violation in the pit lane, so that's a 10-second stop go that they've just had to serve as the penalties come in thick and fast. This, though, is your race leader, Fabulous Randaccio. They came out of the pit lane, UVA Hoffman's Motorsport, with a bigger lead over second place, and they're only extending that now. Riley Phillips is staying with them, but that's no good. He needs to get ahead of the UVO car, really, and hope for a safety car, but his problem is, even if he can get ahead of Fabulous Randaccio, there's a very good chance he won't stay there. So, really tough position this for Riley, and I almost think they have to just sort of turn their attentions now, GRD, to just damage limitation. Just get whatever points they can get. They're in 14th place. A top 10 is still very doable, even if they end up not quite on the lead lap and not able to fight for a podium.
I think that's exactly why he is sitting behind your race leader at the moment, because, like you say, although he then will drop a lap down if the safety car comes out, it is allowing for them to pick up more positions. They've just got past the